Just want to give you a heads up that this episode will contain spoilers from up through Chapter 9, the Gongaga chapter, of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but not beyond that. The first time I saw this, I was like, what in the bleep is happening?
It was so good.
Okay.
Hey, we've already seen him before. We just didn't know who he was.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Final Fantasy Files, where we discuss all things Final Fantasy, from Situps to Mr. Birdie to the Tonberry King. My name is Jolie Hales.
And I'm the weapon. I'm just kidding. I'm Ernest DeLeon.
And I'm Spencer Price.
Wait, what? Why the weapon?
You just think you're... do you think you're a big whale?
Are you a whale?
It's a big part of this chapter. I'm not sure.
Ernest, you've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, you don't look like the weapon.
Yeah, but the weapon looks cool. I like it.
He does look cool.
Okay, yeah, this is true.
He looks really cool.
So, obviously, the weapon has to do with Chapter 9, which is a big part of today's discussion, right? In fact, we're going to start our deep dive into our Chapter 9 discussion. But Chapter 9 is actually a lot bigger than you might think, because while it does encompass everything that happens in Gongaga, like the weapon, before that, it also includes the second half of intel from the Corel region and additional side quests in Corel, the Gold Saucer, and even Costa del Sol. So, in fact, you guys, this is... I don't remember Chapter 9 being such a big chapter, but when I went back and looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh. I looked at my gameplay, and Chapter 9 took me 25 hours to complete, which is, I did the calculation, it's 16% of my overall gameplay, and that is the longest amount of time that I've spent on any chapter so far. So it's like a beast, like a surprisingly large beast.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the transition point. I mean, at least I feel that, because I think this is the part where it's kind of like you buckle in and now it's time to go.
Yeah, 70% of that time was spent navigating Gongaga region. So.
That's true.
70%.
Gongaga's definitely a love-hate thing.
Sure.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And for those who are watching this on YouTube or listening to it, you may look at the duration of this episode and think, wait a minute, how are they going to cover all of that in this short amount of time?
Short for us.
Yeah, short, right? But I've been thinking about this, and I ask for your patience as I continue to adjust the show to make sure that it's the best it can possibly be. And I figured in order to get these episodes published more quickly without sacrificing quality, I'm going to start dividing these chapters into multiple, slightly shorter episodes moving forward. And I mean, when I say shorter, I mean like 2 or 3 hours long instead of like 5 or 10, right? Because Chapter 9 needs 10 hours, and just doing that all in one listen for y'all is probably not what most of you want. So we'll divide them up, but we'll still go just as deep as we always do. And then we can be just as thorough in our analyses. But hopefully I can then turn those episodes around a little faster, which is something I'm trying to do. So thanks for being on this growth journey with us. And at least by the third installment, and maybe even Final Fantasy IX Remake, which the announcement might be coming in July, by the way.
It is coming this year.
It's coming, right?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, so by the time those games come out, we'll have like a consistent length and flow for how we do these episodes. So a little experimental in the meantime. So this is actually going to be part 1 of our Chapter 9 deep dive. So, which is kind of ridiculous to say out loud, but there's just so much in this game, whatever it is what it is. We're also adding a new element to the show starting today. We're going to incorporate opinions from our YouTube community as we go along through the chapter. So we did ask in a YouTube community post a few weeks ago for people to comment on all aspects of Chapter 9, and then we're going to read through some of those comments throughout the discussions. Although I will say that most of the comments center around Gongaga, like the main story stuff, so you probably won't really hear much of it right up front when we're talking about side quests. But if this works out, which I think it will, we'll just keep that going in future chapters. So if you're listening to this and you want to be a part of future discussions, the best way to do that is to subscribe to our YouTube channel and then keep an eye on our community posts. Chapter 9 comment submissions are closed, but later chapters are very likely coming down the pike. So keep an eye out for that. And special thanks to everyone who participated in that. We got some really good comments. And special thanks to those who wished us well over the last few weeks because we had our baby.
Yeah, that was really great, guys.
Yay.
I feel so much love from the community, and it's been fun. It's been fun reading your comments on Chapter 9, but it's also been fun for all the kind words that you've been saying to read those. So thank you very much.
And thank you for your patience on a little brief hiatus. You forget how much work a newborn is. They eat like every 90 minutes. Like
This recording is going to be very challenging.
Yes, it is. We have grandma in the next room with lots of bottles.
Yep.
So we'll see
Yep.
how this works out, but we might be interrupted a couple times.
We too have been there twice. So
Yep.
I think everyone who's been there knows. Yeah, it's
Understands.
yeah, understands.
We're so old. Gosh.
I know.
Everyone who watched this is like, oh, these
Yeah.
parents.
I know, right?
What are they doing?
Any of the young'uns
Yeah.
are like, okay, old people, shut up. No one cares about your family. No, you do, because we know you do, because you wrote it in comments to us. So
Yep.
thank you for that.
Thanks, guys.
But he was 10 pounds, 2 ounces, and it was a C-section. That's another reason there was a little bit of a pause between episodes, because I had to heal.
We're doing a repeat C-section antibiotic.
This is so uncomfortable.
8:14.
And I feel weird.
Did you know they cut through 5 layers? No, or is it
I
7?
thought it was 7.
7. It's 7.
Uh-huh.
I forgot.
I remember because it's like 7-layer bean dip. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Wow.
That's how you remember.
That's a way to put it.
Wow. Hey, you know what? Whatever works for your memory.
Yeah. I know it's a lot because I was there twice for that. Granted, on the other side of the apron or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your wife had C-sections too.
Yes, 2.
Okay, yeah, this is my 3rd C-section, so we're getting more familiar with it. Oh, and since we're in the mood for TMI, then we basically got the plague at our house.
Oh, yeah.
Like 5 weeks afterwards.
I had hand, foot, and mouth disease.
That took a turn.
Let's just say it's been an eventful couple months here in the Price family.
This is the content that you guys subscribe for.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. I'm like, this is such a long chapter. And then I just go off on like all our diseases.
Stop talking about our personal lives, Jolie.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Let's dive into chapter 9 officially. And just a reminder of where we are in the game, right? I mean, Spencer and I beat the game like a year ago.
Yeah.
And we both beat it on normal mode. And I did all the side quests and, everything I could possibly do during that playthrough. Spencer just streamlined the story, but he's playing it again right now on hard mode, and he's doing all of the side quests now.
Mm-hmm.
And Ernest, I actually don't know where you are. Have you played since our chapter 8?
I don't remember what chapter I'm on because it was 2 weeks ago I last played just because I've been out of town.
Yeah, you've been traveling.
Do you remember like what happened?
No.
How do you not remember?
Spencer and I were talking about it. He's like, you got to go a little faster because.
We're going to catch up, and I'm just worried.
And so I'm ahead. Don't worry. I'm ahead.
Okay,
I'm not
cool.
anywhere
Okay.
behind any of this. But I think Spencer's point was
I may say some things today, so hopefully it doesn't spoil it too much for you. But
by the time we finish recording this episode, I'll have forgotten what we said. So
okay, that's
we're
fair.
good.
Yeah, our memories don't work as well as they used to, right?
They certainly don't at my age. I'll tell you that.
To your point, though, we're not going to spoil things for any of our viewers or listeners
right.
who are playing along with us. Because, these episodes will still be available in 2026 when those who want to play it on Switch 2 might be following along.
Yeah, it's official, guys. They said it. Nintendo Switch 2, the director, Hamaguchi, said that the entire remake series will be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. So
Which is awesome. So 2026, by the time we finish this series,
2046? Is that what you said?
we'll be done by the time the Switch community gets to the last.
Yeah.
I know, it's so sad. No, we're going to go faster than
Yeah.
that, I hope. Okay, so as for where we left off in our last discussion, so if you remember, Barret found his old friend dying, only to discover that time had not been kind to his emotional and mental state.
Hell, Marlene, set a place for Barret.
And then the two of them end up in this Western-style shootout boss fight with Japanese flair.
Very.
That was really hard, actually. And while both of their lives were initially spared throughout that fight. Dine does eventually die of his own accord in a shootout with Shinra troopers after learning that his daughter Marlene is alive. And then bodybuilder Dio comes out of nowhere and he gives us this like major off-roading red buggy.
The safety of my every guest is paramount.
And we're able to use that in the desert from then on out, right? So, and then we go up against tantrum-throwing Palmer and his giant robot frog. And then we concluded the chapter with a buggy shooter minigame that seemed to enthuse pretty much no one in this discussion, at least. So when we left off, our party was driving across the desert in our new shiny red buggy, or the Fisher-Price Little Tykes toy on steroids, as Ernest would say, right? And then now our party is trying to figure out where to go next. In fact, Kate Sith is the one who kicks off the question.
So where are we bound this fine day?
South. Far south.
And what's there?
Not Corel, that's what. Now step on it.
Which is clearly indicating that he's had enough of bathing in his past for the time being, because it's been a little heavy for Barret recently. And that's when we officially see the name of this chapter, Chapter 9, which is The Planet Stirs, which seems to be pointing to all that crazy stuff that goes down later at the Gungaga reactor, as you were talking about, Ernest, right? Which will be fun to break down once we get there. I'm really excited for that part.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yep.
And I want to point out, the planet stirs is there for a reason. You know, usually when we talk about someone stirring, it's like they're waking up. Like my kids in the morning, they start stirring. It takes them a while to kind of come to life, so to speak. And I know that's the case for adults too, or whatever. But the point is, that's what the title is implying here. The planet is now waking up. It's coming alive for whatever reason that is.
Yeah, well said. Whenever we put our baby down for a nap, and I think I'm going to get like an hour, and he starts stirring. I'm like, no, stay asleep.
Yeah, the title like is evoking that same emotion on a planetary level in the story.
I like that.
It kind of matters because this whole time leading up to this chapter, we've just been following the Black Robe guys. And this is maybe a complaint I have with Rebirth, is that the motivating factor of this game has always been, oh, follow the Robe guys, and they're taking us to a theme park, or we're going to Costa del Sol, or we're on a boat. This is the first time where events are happening. It's like the planet stirring, and it's like we don't necessarily need to follow the Robe guys anymore because some big events are happening, which is funny because when Kate Sith is like, where we're going, and Barrett's like, just out of here.
It kind of kills the motivation a little bit.
It's like, okay, so what are you guys doing again?
Yeah.
This is a problem with Rebirth, is that they say they're trying to stop Sephiroth, but a lot of times it means they have no idea how to do that.
Yeah.
I know it's following the path of the original game, but it's kind of interesting. So we'll get to, at the end of this chapter, an event that actually gives them more motivation to follow along the path that makes more sense to the audience that's playing as well.
Yeah.
I also feel like this chapter, they're doing a little bit more triangulation with the story. And that's one of the reasons that I really like this chapter, because I felt like we've had a complaint about the ambiguity and the kind of loose storytelling nature. And I think like this chapter, while it doesn't bring it together, it's starting to weave the tapestry.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're starting to first see that.
It's starting to come together.
Yeah.
I like that. And I mean, if you're streamlining the story at this point too, you can pretty much go directly to Gungaga and do that story stuff right away. So you can still keep that momentum if you really want to do that. But if you're a completionist at this point, even though the chapter is The Planet Stirs, you ain't going to see any stirring of the planet for a little bit of time, because
for a while
there's a lot to do before you even get to that part.
Yeah, I played the critical path the first time, so I went straight from the Gold Saucer to Gongaga, and it's like, okay, this momentum feels good. And now going back and being a completionist and playing all the side quests, which we're going to jump into right now, it's like, this is way more bloated, and this is so much more to do, which is like awesome if you just want to live in this world and have the side quests and the adventure. But it really does drag down the critical path storytelling, I feel.
Yeah, you're probably right. And it's hard because for somebody like me who does like to live in the world, I'm like, yes, so much to do, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's beautiful that the option is there for both.
Sure.
Right? If you are the completionist, you have so much to do here. You could be here for weeks, right?
Or months like you, Ernest. You could be there for a year.
Yeah, so this is one of the chapters where I did run straight through.
It came out February 29th, 2024, Ernest.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. It's been a year and a half almost, right?
Yeah, about a year
I
and a half.
know. It's so crazy how long it's taken us to get through these. Okay, so as our party is first driving this buggy, That's when we also hear kind of the first series of dialogue between Barret and Cait Sith. And this is when like Barret is expressing his mistrust for Cait Sith. And he does this throughout the game, but it really kind of starts right here.
Hey, RoboCat, you act all buddy-buddy, but we don't know a thing about you. Let's fix that.
There's not much to know. I'm a 9-to-5 nobody at a small Shinra subsidiary. Another paper-shuffling, copy-pasting forwarder of emails.
Another Shinra lapdog.
Lap cat.
My mistake.
Yeah. He's trying to claim he's like a nobody inside the Shinra organization.
Like he's not a spy, don't worry.
But then he's like manipulating the computer systems
Exactly.
back at the gold saucer, and it's like, it's fine. I just
like getting them a hotel room.
I'm an anthropomorphic cat robot that does all these things, and everyone's cool with it.
The Tonberry and Eligor suites have just become available. Shall I book them for you?
It feels so good to do good.
Yeah, it's like you might be a nobody, but you clearly have friends in high places.
Exactly. And we suspect what that might mean, right? And this is funny. He says the reason that he's now in our party is because we're the most special group he's ever met.
But you lot are special. Properly special. Never met a specialer group of people in all my life. How could I not tag along?
How can I not tag along? Bullshit.
I don't think if I was Barret, I would buy that either. If I was any of these party members, right, I'd be like, what is really going on here? And it may even be like less convincing than the reason given in the original game as to why Cait Sith joined the party. And in the original game, the reason he just joins our party is because he gives us a fortune and he says he needs to see how it turns out.
Yeah, he wants to know.
Yeah, neither reason is super great, but whatever. We'll suspend disbelief and move forward, but Barret's not suspending disbelief. Barret is suspicious of this cat because he hates Shinra more than anything. Of course he's going to suspect.
Right, and I give the game a hard time, but to be honest, this is part of its charm, right?
Right, exactly.
We have this robotic cat creature that just joins us and nobody bats an eye at it, right?
That rides a fat pink blob around, that gives fortunes out of its mouth. I mean, it's not meant to be taken super seriously.
As a matter of fact, like if you think about it, right, Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 for that matter are heavy chapters. So putting this little slapstick character in there is kind of like a counterbalance to that.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It is. I think that's a really good point. It's like, how can you really be all that depressed and angry at certain events when there's this like anthropomorphic cat
Talking
that talks
cat,
to you
right?
and fights with a megaphone?
Yeah, not that we haven't had a talking cat dog this entire time, right? But like
This is true. Yeah, different kind of cat. Yeah.
Red is like 95% dog and like 5% cat. I
think he's no. I think he's more like
think he's like a lion.
feline, like a mountain lion or a lion. Yeah,
he's like a lion. He's like a big
No,
cat.
he's a dog. All his mannerisms are dogs.
No!
He growls and barks. No.
Yeah.
They treat him like a dog. Like if he's always like
He's a dog.
rubbing his mane like he's a dog. But no, I think he's a cat.
It's like a dog if he cosplayed as a lion.
Whatever. Okay, moving on.
Let's roll.
So this is main story stuff, right? Because it's telling us how to get from point A to point B. But as we drive this buggy, Yuffie, who you remember was overcome by motion sickness back on the minecart in Corel. Again, she's being overtaken by I almost said morning sickness because I've been dealing with that for the last 40 weeks.
Excuse me?
That's a whole layer to this game that we
don't want to talk about that.
We can't be going there.
She's only 16. Stop.
She has no. Motion sickness.
Yeah.
Yuffie has motion
Very
sickness.
good.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so bad. So she has motion sickness. She's here on this buggy, and she's almost throwing up a lot. And between these moments of almost puking, she manages to make Barret promise not to take down Scarlet.
Promise me. You won't take down Scarlet unless I'm there with you.
All right, I promise. If you don't give up the ghost right here and now, that is.
I won't let some stupid guard get the better of me. Not before I punch that witch right in the mouth.
She has a special place in her hate bucket for Scarlet because she fought Scarlet one-on-one during Intermission, which is the remake DLC, right? So
This will be a memory to cherish for the rest of your lives. All 30 seconds of them.
But it's also kind of funny. This is clearly foreshadowing for us that Scarlet is going to be involved in the story for some reason in the future, because otherwise there's really no reason to mention her here. Out of the three of us, who played the intermission DLC?
I have not yet.
You haven't.
I want to.
I played part of it. I didn't finish it though, but I know
You know what happened.
I've seen videos and stuff.
Okay, cool.
Just imagine a whole clan of ninjas landing on your doorstep.
And then as Yuffie is talking about punching Scarlet in the face, she almost pukes, and the buggy abruptly then pulls over because nobody wants her to puke in the buggy.
Pull over! She's about to pop!
Wait, Lassie! Not in the buggy! Not in the buggy!
And then we fade a few moments into the future where the party has gotten off the buggy, and then Yuffie is lying. Do you remember this? Sprawled out in the desert sand, and she's moaning with nausea, right? And this pause in momentum is actually the perfect time for the group to figure out finally where they actually are going next, because we knew that they were headed south, but we didn't really know much more than that. Because remember, to Spencer's point, up until now, through the entire first 8 chapters, right up here until chapter 9, so more than half the game, our entire objective was to
All the robe guys.
follow the robe guys.
Let's get back to tailing the guys in robes.
But last we saw, the robe guys went to the gold saucer, but then we never really saw them leave. So there aren't any robe guys to follow, as you were mentioning, right? So we don't really know where their next location is or where we should go. This is the first time that this has all kind of changed. And Tifa even acknowledges this.
Driving in circles, hoping to spot a black robe is
The worst idea ever!
Yeah, they're lost, basically.
Yeah. So it's actually Kate Sith who comes up with his genius idea.
When you don't know where life's leading, you should get yourself a reading!
And so Kate Sith does this little meow meow dance.
Yeah.
Do you remember? It's in the trailer, I think, so it kind of stands out. And, Aerith is delighted by the dance, of course. And then a fortune paper comes out of the fat Moogle's mouth, as fortunes do. And Cloud reads it.
Your lucky food is mushrooms.
And that doesn't really impress the group at first. And then it triggers an idea in Kate Sith.
Wait! Barret, you mentioned something earlier about the Corel reactor, did you not? You saw a weapon there, right?
Yeah, but I don't recall telling you.
Well, it might interest you to know that just a wee drive from here, there's another rundown reactor.
And I think this scene is kind of funny in the moment because while later it makes more sense that the reason the mushroom fortune reminded Kate Sith of the reactor in Gungaga is because of the fame of the Gungaga mushrooms, right? That grow all around the reactor. But they don't explain that here. So it's just, your lucky food is mushrooms. Hey, let's go to the reactor. It's not explained yet, so it's kind of funny.
It makes sense later. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's also worth noting that, just as Spencer pointed out at the gold saucer, this is yet another fortune from Kate Sith's Fat Moogle that is actually accurate.
Yeah, they're all coming true.
So that gives him a 4 for 4 record in this game. I don't think it's the case in the original game. I think some of them are meant to be discarded. But in this game, Rebirth, it seems like every fortune actually comes to fruition in some way.
At first, you're like, what is this? This makes no sense. And then at some point down the road, it makes sense, which would be the actual definition of a fortune teller. Like they know the future, or at least they're able to divine the future, even if they don't know what it means.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. I want to see what they do when they play it out all the way through the end of the series.
Yeah, once we get to part 3, we'll be able to kind of look back and go over those fortunes again.
And kind of see how they actually panned out. And yeah. And then it's talk of potentially seeing a weapon and its massive materia belly that suddenly snaps Yuffie temporarily out of her sickness.
Reactor? Materia! Okay, I'm good. Everybody back in the car. Let's go, go, go!
But then she almost collapses again because she actually is sick. So without any kind of better suggestion, the group decides that this reactor will be their next goal. And they board the buggy and they press forward with Yuffie looking really sick once again. And this is the moment where Kate Sith officially joins the party and we get to officially take control over driving the buggy. And actually brings us to our first YouTube comment.
Woo! Nice.
Yeah. So Kai Brianna said, Kate Sith joining the party was a lot of fun, especially the banters and the way he impacts the story. And she says she loved the buggy as well, which I gotta agree with Kai Brianna. Driving the buggy is pretty awesome. Like, not only can you drive over the rivers with like the perfectly lined up stick debris
that you couldn't go through before.
that was floating in a river you couldn't go past because you can't climb over a stick.
Yep.
So you can drive over that now, right? But you can also like launch yourself off of cliffs, which is super fun, or rocks. I don't know. I just think it's rad.
Certain cliffs. It bothers me that it's like sometimes you can do it, but other times you can't.
It's not every single cliff. Yeah.
It's okay, but yes, it's better than being on foot.
Because like other times it's like you think you're going to be able to launch and you just hit like an invisible wall and you're like, wait.
Well, it's like this drop is too far, or you can't go to this section unless you take the path there.
Right.
But I will say it was way more fun to drive everywhere. I found myself just calling the buggy.
Oh, yeah.
Every chance I could, because I'm like, I'm not traversing this on foot.
The buggy was awesome. As someone who drives a Jeep.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
As someone who drives a Little Tykes buggy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man, if I could drive one of those around here, that would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. I totally would love that.
Yeah, as someone who drives a Jeep built for off-road, like with a four-wheel drive, I'm looking at that thing. I was like, I don't remember how many wheels it had, 8 or 10 or 12. I was like, that's 8-wheel drive. That's freaking awesome. And I spent a lot of time driving that buggy over the monsters. The ones that are out in the wild, you know, I would go hit them and drive over them.
Can you drive over them?
I think you can go into them. I don't think that...
You can hit them.
I thought that like you drive to them and then the buggy automatically stops and you automatically get out.
It stops if the like red circle bars. You know how you have first strike ability?
But you can actually like plow over like a blade fin or whatever.
Yeah.
I think if you go fast enough, it doesn't proc that battle. You go through them.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it harms them or anything.
Yeah.
I don't think it kills them.
I got you. So it's just like you plow past them.
Yeah, it's just like a funny thing to do. So I drove over, I don't know how many of those things on my way through. But the buggy in general kind of just made it worth it to drive that buggy around all over the place.
But it is pretty amazing. Like when you stop the buggy, right? The little like stairs come down and then the seat moves forward and then all the party, like each individual party doesn't get out, just Cloud gets down and then all of a sudden the rest of the party just teleports to like the ground instead of walking. But I'm like, they took the time to animate the seat pulling forward and Cloud getting off. So very cool. So yeah, I agree with the comment. Like the buggy's really awesome.
I like that it has the summon feature too. Like you can call the buggy to wherever you're at.
With the little like key remote.
Well, have you noticed how fast it comes? Like, because you know that like when you're paging the buggy, the gamer doesn't want to wait for it to like and then open up. Instead, you just page it and it's like on,
which is
right?
great.
Like if they know to speed that up.
It's like it's always conspicuously right out of frame. Right?
Yep.
And the minute you hit the key, it's like it rolls in right then and there.
It's like page the buggy. Why don't you just turn your head and walk 2 steps?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're like on a mountain cliffside or if you're like on a nice road.
See, we don't know, but it's got an AI in it or something. Maybe Chadley's controlling it, but it's secretly following us this whole time.
Hey, Chadley finds us wherever we are. We're going on a crazy adventure and he just shows up. So he's got like a homing chip in us.
That should be disturbing to people. Like the fact that Chadley knows where we are at all times, it's like,
not cool with this.
I like Chadley.
He's going to be the final boss in part 3. After you beat Sephiroth, then you have to fight Chadley.
That'd be hilarious, though. If he was the final like side quest boss, which maybe he is in the 3rd installment.
He's totally going to be a boss.
In the 3rd installment, like he'll be a boss maybe for...
He's collecting all of our battle intel so he can like, it's the whole incredible subplot of Syndrome. He's collecting our...
But there's also stuff coming up in future chapters that might actually point to that. So we'll see. But it would have to be in the 3rd installment.
Yeah.
Let's throw down, as they say.
And the one thing I also want to point out about the buggy is we just not too long ago came off of a chapter at sea, right? So now we're in a chapter on land. And at the end of the chapter, we go somewhere else.
That's pretty cool.
We're covering everything.
It is fun to go to the different regions.
They're moving us through the different methods of travel, right?
I like that. Yeah.
We did a train to start in Remake.
Yeah.
And then
we travel by bird.
We travel by bird.
Running bird that climbs up the sides of cliff walls
region.
Bouncing on mushrooms that we'll talk about too. It's really diverse in its play, which I think is fun.
I wish they would have done, and I know this is going to sound crazy because we've been kind of lamenting a few of these side games. A one with the buggy off-roading, like a MotoGP type thing would have been great, but we didn't get that.
I would be into something like that because it's something that you use for traversal all the time.
It's not a bad idea.
But it doesn't drive well enough for that.
I've seen worse.
All right, so this is the point, officially, guys, where the game opens up for us to finish the rest of Corel Region World Intel with our favorite AI. right?
Chadley.
Our
I know.
favorite
It's
AI.
our favorite.
Chadley, yes. And for this discussion, I think we can streamline the general intel stuff here, right? Since it's pretty consistent from region to region. There are some side quests that we can't just skip over for a number of reasons. Not all of them memorable in the most positive sense of the word, but
I don't have as much of a problem with them as you do.
I know, and you should. So I don't know what's wrong with you. No, it'll be good because I'm sure other people don't have problems with them either. It's typically just me who has the problems. So I'll express what those problems are in a bit here. But as for the intel in this region, right, there's towers, of course, to activate. They help us point to other locations. There's life springs. The life springs, by the way, are always in these beautiful settings. Even in the desert,
yeah.
they just do such a good job with like putting them in these beautiful places, right?
The life springs are cool because they give you like world intel when you complete them, right?
Like they actually tell you the story.
It kind of fleshes out the area a little bit. Like, for example, one of the things they were saying after the Mako reactor like was destroyed, they were concerned about all the Mako that was being taken up by the gold saucer, so they made these smaller, more power like efficient ones that wasn't using up as much Mako, because you see the region in the desert is dying because the gold saucer's sucking up so much of the life energy from the...
Yeah, and it actually tells you that
Right,
story.
it's pretty cool. So if you...
in written form.
Yeah, if you take the time to read the, world intel that you gain from doing the...
Which we do.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Yeah, I love the live spring locations. I think they're so beautiful, and the music is beautiful too. It's the life spring leitmotif. It actually has like its own theme, right? The do do do. There's also excavation sites for digging up transmuter parts. There's divine intel crystals, and the divine intel, it leads you to Alexander materia in this particular region. And then, of course, there's like chocobo stops to repair, cache locations for finding subpar treasures. I'm not going to lie.
They're the most disappointing.
Every time I open up one of those treasures, I'm like, I don't need like a high potion. Like, but I guess I do.
But the completionist in you is like, I need to do this.
I need to get them all, right? Exactly. And then there's, of course, a scenic spot for taking photos as well. And there are also fiend intels of having to fight, like, I think for fiend intels, there were silver chimeras, blade fins, there was a dune worm.
The dune worm, man.
And I was like, there's some kind of sandworm.
Yeah. And I have something to say about that one too, actually, briefly. There's also the Tonberry King, which we'll discuss in more detail later because it's also linked to a side quest. So you can knock both of those out at the same time. And I'll say, while the silver chimeras didn't give me any issues and the blade fins are easy enough, although they did smack me around with their fins pretty good. And they go underground, and sometimes you're like, there's no enemy to fight, right? Because it's like swimming in the sand or whatever. Did anyone other than me keep getting swallowed by the dang dune worm? Did you do the fiend intel?
I did it.
I did it.
Yeah, the sandworms do the same thing. But did you get swallowed?
Yeah.
Am I the only one who got swallowed?
No, we all got
swallowed all the time.
Yeah,
I think I got swallowed one time by it. I'm pretty sure I did.
Multiple times.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Multiple. Okay, well, let me just explain. I got some venting to do about this.
Yeah, the dune worm.
So technically, you just need to beat the dune worm to give the intel to Chadley, but those of us who are completionists can't just move on until we've checked all those boxes for the objectives, right? Mai's objectives, even though Mai is super annoying. You want to complete her little 3 check boxes in the upper left corner. And one of those objectives was to fight the fight without ever having been swallowed. Not to mention, okay, so it's super annoying that when you're swallowed by this dune worm, or even a landworm, because any of the worms can technically swallow you. The dune worm was just more intense for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're bigger.
Yeah, but when they swallow you, it completely removes that character from your party in the middle of the fight until you hit the worm enough times for it to spit that party member back out. But then right after it swallows somebody, it dives underground where you can't even hit them. So it's just like...
You have to wait. It becomes targetable when it starts to come back up from in the ground. You can hit its mouth or something, and then the person can come out.
Yeah, but it feels like her. And I'm like, well, I guess there's just two of us now. And sometimes if you're fighting two of these worms, anyway, whatever. Maybe I'm the only one who was annoyed by it, but I was like, really? I mean, it's annoyed in like a fun way because it makes the fight more challenging.
Yeah, it's like a unique enemy type where you can't just hit X a bunch or hit square a bunch of times and then you win.
Right, like you actually have to strategize and stuff. So yeah, when it came to the dune worm, which again is like a landworm on steroids, so I thought it was going to be this easy fight where I would be able to just like go in, guns blazing, chop the thing up, whatever, be done. But while I did beat it on my first try, the stupid thing swallowed Cloud, and then it put both Kate Sith and Barret to sleep. And then it killed Cloud and Barret. And then I was left fighting with just Kate Sith, which
the worst possible scenario.
I know. And and I was like experimenting with Kate Sith at the time because he was new to the party. And I'm like, well, let's give him a try, right?
Yeah, he's brand new. You don't know how to play him.
But then it's just him. And we'll have much to discuss, especially in a future chapter about Kate Sith's fighting style because there's much.
Everybody knows about the chapter.
Except Ernest, apparently. I don't think.
When he gets there, he'll know.
Ernest, have you been to the Kate Sith chapter yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did love the worm fight. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the movie Tremors, the Kevin Bacon one.
Oh, sure.
That's how they get you. They're under the ground.
And so when I saw this part, I was like, oh man, this is great. And so
it is very Tremors-esque.
I loved it. Now, I get it. It was annoying and I did get swallowed and all that. I had to fight that thing, I don't know how many times to get the 3 check marks. But to me, it was just like living out the movie Tremors right there on the spot. I was like, this is great. So
yeah, I was just mad. It's like, spit my character out and I end up with just Kate Sith, right? So
we've had past enemies where they'll have like some other ability or whatever that kind of disables your party, whether it's electricity or whatever it is. And it takes one of them out of the fight.
They'll stun you.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
The Polis enemies on the ship stuns you.
Yeah, the screeching enemies too, the howling one.
Those people, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
So the ones that kind of disable, they're kind of annoying, but I get it because, you know, if you go back in time, especially to like the more turn-based versions of these, buffs and debuffs were a big thing. They're not so much in this game, right? But they historically in Final Fantasies and in JRPGs, buffs and debuffs have been a big thing in the story. So
yeah, it's part of what makes it fun.
The thing I think was a little annoying was the inability to target them while they were underground.
Right.
And then you had to like retarget when they surfaced. And I think that was the challenge there, was like, how do you reacquire targeting quickly, right? Before something happens to one of your other party members.
Yeah. Or pro tip for those, I've fought enough of these to know how not to get swallowed.
Oh.
You don't run away from it. You run towards it when it jumps up. It'll go after the player controlled character.
Interesting.
But sometimes won't it go after your other characters?
Yeah, that's true.
Too?
But you switch a lot. Right. So that's why
I'm constantly switching. So it very well could be targeting the last character I was.
If you're the character that's being controlled and you feel like it's about to swallow you, it'll go underground and then it pops up and it's going to come land on you. Every time I'm just like, run away, dodge as fast as you can. I never could get away from it. The reason I know this is because later on in the chapter, you can go back to the gold saucer. I don't know if this is true. This might be just for me, but you can fight like a giga worm, which is even bigger than the dune worm. And it's huge. The only way I could get away from not getting swallowed by it is you run towards it when it's like going over it and it misses you. It like goes over you.
So it pops out of the ground and that's when you run toward it.
Yeah.
Is after it pops.
Or you can see it swimming towards you kind of, because if you have it locked on.
Gotcha. Interesting.
You're like, it's coming. So pro tip, run towards it.
Good tip.
That's a cool mechanic. It's kind of like a tank, right? If you get too close to it, its turret cannot, effectively hit you because it can only go so low. That's like a distance weapon. So the worm, I guess, if you get inside of its AoE area, it can't get you.
It's a very Dark Souls pro tip because a lot of times Dark Souls, you want to roll towards the enemy, which seems counterproductive, but
interesting.
You have the iframes and stuff, not in this game. But anyway, go towards the scary dune worm.
Interesting. Well, thanks for the pro tip. That means I need to stop because I'm always, like you said, I'm character switching constantly.
It never works.
So it doesn't really work when you're character switching constantly because it just goes after the last character you were, which is what tended to happen with me.
You just abandon the character, you switch, you're like, you get swallowed.
Because usually that works to your advantage to character switch because like you'll shoot it and then you'll move to a different target and then you can.
And then it retargets you.
Yeah, and you can take it down really fast when it's focusing on your.
It's smart.
Non-playable player there, but
have either of you tried like on any of these playing like the distance healer role, like letting the rest of the party do all the combat and you just focus on keeping them alive?
I don't think you can really do that on normal and hard mode.
I don't think you can either. I was just curious.
I mean, you're playing on story mode, right, Ernest? Can you do that on story mode?
No, well, no,
can.
not really. But what you can do, right, if you have Aerith, you can focus on healing your party. I don't think you have the ability to do like a dedicated healer.
I feel like there might be some fights where you could try that, but they would take 45 minutes.
Well, you can do it. It's your materia setup, depending. I'm not going to like be like, well, actually, you guys, you can.
No, but I think what he's saying is like if you only do healing spells with your active character,
it's going to take forever.
Then like your other two characters are going to be just doing those dinky little hits the whole time,
You
right?
can equip them with auto ability materia.
That's true.
And they can do a lot of
true.
other things too. But it's never going to be as effective as controlling the attack powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, whoever's played a healer in an MMO knows what that means, right?
It feels very much like Final Fantasy XIV, where it's like you have your class and you go in to any kind of boss fight with a certain number of tanks, certain number of healers, and a certain number of DPS. So this game doesn't really, make that a thing, I guess, as much as older games too. Like some of the older ones, though, are that way too, where you had your classes for everybody. And
yeah, this is more like you can't do it like an MMO, but you still have your characters still have like their main focus areas, I guess.
Yeah, like you still think of Aerith as like a powerful mage.
Right. But instead of having like a full party.
But you can divvy out that materia to anybody. It's just how well they use it.
Exactly. You can swap them out. And instead of having a full party context, I guess, here, like you would have in an MMO, this is more of like, I think what they try to do is squeeze it down to the synergy, the two character power plays in this particular game versus, an MMO, it requires everybody to play their role correctly.
I kind of disagree with both of you. But yes, that's true. You're responsible for the damage you do for the party. But Barret can be the tank. Aerith can be the healer. Cloud can be the DPS, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can set it up that way, but it's different because it's momentum-based combat, right? So it's like you need your ATBs in order to get abilities. So if you want Aerith to be a healer, she still needs to be attacking. You need to switch over to the next person to be able to do stuff. So
that's a good point. Like you can't even do the healing spells unless you're hitting in order to earn the ability to do the healing spells.
This is just the way the combat works. Like, yes, there's ways to do it, but it's not meant to be dedicated MMO combat because you just focus on your single role and healing. You just heal. Or Jolie's, she's wearing her ninja shirt today for Final Fantasy, right? She was always the ninja. She was DPS. Like all she did was DPS, right?
I got to chop.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing.
It's not like that because it's a single player game, but you're controlling 3 party members. But the idea is there because you can have Aerith do auto cast her heals. So like you put the blue auto cast materia onto a healing materia, and then she'll heal you without you having to switch to her when you get low or something, And then you can have Barret, auto tank for you and things like that. So it's possible. It's not the same, but I like the system because it's flexible enough. So like if you want to be able to play the traditional style MMO, the Trinity, heals, DPS, and tank, you can do it. It's just not going to be as effective as if you're going to be playing like the way the combat is set up to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't disagree. I totally agree with that.
Okay.
I would agree, 100%. And I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to set up like the 3 distinct roles and then automate their materia and see what happens. And it's probably easier in story mode, to be honest, but I would assume on hard mode, you just can't.
Yeah, you can get away with that in story mode.
Definitely not in hard mode.
I wouldn't think so, yeah.
Anyway, this Dune Worm. By the way, when I was down to Kate Sith, I did beat the Dune Worm, but I beat him 5 seconds after the timer ran out, so I didn't meet the objectives, and I got swallowed. So anyway, it took me 3 tries to beat him, but fun times with the good old Dune Worm. All right, so and then there's the World Intel quests that we definitely need to talk about, which are the Protorelic quests, or the Phenomenon Intel, as they call it, right? So in Chapter 2, this was a series of quests where you fought the bandits. And in Chapter 4, it was Fort Condor quests. And now here in Chapter 9, it's something
awesome
else. So who did the Protorelic quests here in Chapter 9?
I did.
Spencer did. Did you, Ernest?
I think I did.
Does Cactuar minigame ring a bell?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
All the way to the end.
Okay, cool.
As a matter of fact, I sent you a graphic, didn't I? And like,
I don't know. It's been a year. I don't remember.
I mean, recently, I was trying to get AI to generate a graphic.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
the character we're going to talk about here, and it came up with this really cool thing, and I was like, "That's awesome."
That was not good. AI, it was bad.
I thought it was awesome.
Not good.
It looked nothing like Kid G.
I mean, it was like a gangster rapper setup, and I was like, that's pretty good.
I'm glad you were impressed.
It was funny. I mean,
Ernest enjoys life, like goes through life enjoying what's thrown at him. It's great. I love it.
I try to.
Which is good.
Yeah.
That's honestly the way we probably all should be, right? But so the first time this region's Protorelic concept actually comes to our attention is right after we've activated Tower 3. Then Chadley transmits to us on this little like remote gun thing that we carry around to talk to him, right?
I've detected Protorelic signals emanating from nearby modular reactor. I'm sending you its location and would like you to investigate.
But then his picture goes static and he disappears.
Sandstorm must have kicked up or something.
Which is pretty intuitive of her, given that my mind probably wouldn't have been like, there's a sandstorm. Like that's what's, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And then we kind of forget about this whole Chadley interrupted transmission thing until we're driving through the desert in the buggy, most likely, when we see this big like sand tornado up ahead. Do you remember this?
Uh-huh.
So there's this big sand tornado, and it's like next to some like chunky green blob-looking structure, right? And we assume then that it's, at least our party assumes, that that's the sandstorm that must have interrupted the conversation with Chadley.
This must be the sandstorm.
So we get out of the buggy to scope it out instead of like drive away from the sand tornado.
I know. We're so smart as a party, right?
Yeah. It's like, hey, a sand tornado. Because the last time there was a sand tornado, remember, we all had to take cover next to those like old cars instead of in the cement tunnel or whatever.
I'll be chewing on sand for weeks.
So we get out of the buggy to scope it out, and Chadley again tries to transmit another signal to us. And then this giant tornado gets closer and closer to our party. And now our party, by the way, is like just Cloud, Red, and Yuffie. Not sure where everyone else went. Maybe they were running away like we all should have been from this sand tornado that's headed towards us, right? Okay, and I love this. So the sand tornado's coming toward us. It's just those three characters. And Cloud like grabs his sword.
I'll chop it.
Yeah, like he's going to do something about this.
Yeah, he's like going to chop the sand tornado.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, the sandstorm, the tornado, it's growling. So maybe they were anticipating a fight with a monster. It doesn't matter. This is all just stupidly fun, right?
Yeah, it was like you're getting in a fight with a giant belt sander is what's about to happen. So I would have gone the other direction too.
Whatever it is, like you just buy what's going on. It's fun. But then this growling like sandstorm then gives way to like these two giant sand hands that pop out of the ground. And then they're followed by like a head and a torso. And it's some kind of giant sand creature, sand guy, right? And he's wearing like some kind of samurai style warrior hat.
Drawn was I to the warrior's presence, and lo, whither should it lead me but these sweltering sands?
And then our party just like stands there staring at it all, like obviously confused as to what the heck is happening in front of us, which is kind of how I'm feeling. And then this sand giant who has a voice that we should recognize, by the way, from Fort Condor in Chapter 4, among other scenes.
Don't give up the fight.
No! If we don't have too much PTSD from playing Fort Condor.
But we're starting to notice the pattern, right?
Right. There's like a pattern with these Protorelics.
Every Protorelic class deals with this one person.
This voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's manifesting in these different forms, which is kind of unique, but it's the same voice if we're paying attention. And this sand giant then tells us that the treasure we seek is his.
You would do well to leave, that I may collect what is by rights mine.
You think the Protorelic is yours?
Proto what now? Relic, you say? Ha! A ridiculous name, unworthy of my treasure.
And then as the sand guy is speaking, these small pieces of him are like breaking off.
Falling apart.
And falling to the ground. Yeah, until like, he's not keeping it together very well. And then mid-sentence, he can't hold his form any longer and he collapses. And his collapse is all very comedically dramatic.
I can hold it no longer. Oh, down I go.
Pretty much anything that this voice is involved in is very comedically dramatic. He vanishes in this puff of dust that can be seen for miles. It's like this huge puff of dust. And then our party is left as confused as before. And then Chadley like pipes in to confirm that this all had to do somehow with the Protorelic.
The Protorelic, yeah.
In my initial analysis of the sand entity, I detected a Protorelic-like signal. I'm unsure how they're connected, but I fear we might be after the same thing.
Of course we are.
And if you think that this is all pretty random, which you could argue is pretty par for the course for many of the side quests in this game.
It's because it is.
I was going to say, it's because it is, yeah.
It is, but it gets even more out of the blue.
Yeah, just wait.
Oh, it gets weird.
They just kind of put in whatever they wanted, and they're like, let's make this a side quest, which is fun, but it's also like, what is happening, right? So, if you explore the area immediately surrounding where this sand giant appeared, then you come across what looks like this old structure, which is the green blobby structure, right? It's got these green blobs all over it. They're apparently cactus-type growths, and then there's this big, like, locked double door and this little silhouette of the shape of a creature every Final Fantasy fan will recognize as being a Cactuar, right? What is it? Yeah, take the pose.
They are a beloved part of the franchise.
They are. So we recognize what this is all about. This is some kind of Cactuar side quest. And as we're trying to figure out like what the structure is, then like a bunch of symbols light up on this door, and then hologram Chadley appears and he translates the symbols.
The symbols resemble those found in the Book of Kings, an ancient tome.
So I guess that's their scripture, the Book of Kings, which Kings actually is a book for us. So,
well, yeah, exactly. They did such a good job with this. I loved it.
So he says that this is from the Book of Kings. He translates the symbols and he says,
in order to unlock this door, you'll need to locate a Cactuar rock hidden somewhere in the desert.
We need to use a Cactuar statue to guide us to some Cactuar rock where we can prove ourselves worthy of unlocking this door. So we pick up this Cactuar statue that is conveniently sitting right next to the door, and then we follow the light beam it emits when we hold it up. And I remember, Spencer, you said this is like a thing.
Yeah, this is Shadow of the Colossus.
Absolutely.
When you hold up your sword and then you have to angle it until you see the beam and it shoots you off in a direction.
How long did it take you to figure out what to do with that statue? Because I took like a couple of times to figure out, what am I doing with this thing?
I think I figured it out pretty quick. Like you hold it up and I saw a light beam, so I followed it.
I did not.
What took me a little bit of time was sometimes the light beam would go into like a cliffside, and then you have to figure out how to go around to get to the place where it's actually pointing you to. So that took me a little bit of time.
It took me a while to figure it out.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
But once I did, I was like, oh, Shadow of the Colossus, got it. And then I was good after that. Yeah.
They give you like a tutorial, but if you're like me, you read as fast and as little of the tutorials as possible, and you just,
I just
like
closed it. Yeah.
Move on. Okay,
like,
you're like, nah.
Let me figure this out myself.
Because it tells you exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So then after a few minutes of following this light beam, then Cloud, Yuffie, and Red, they arrive at this big rock that looks like this cluster of like Cactuar heads, like different sized Cactuar heads. They have like glowing green eyes and some kind of green light emanating from them. And it's accompanied by some sort of like tribal music, which is kind of fun. And when Cloud holds the Cactuar statue up in front of the rock, it shatters, and then the music turns into that remake battle music, like dun 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 dun.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know.
Wait, do it again? That's really good.
No, shut up.
That's really good, Joe.
That sounded like a little bit like the intro to the Benny Hill show, but you know.
Okay, it's not supposed to be a banjo, but clearly I did a really good job.
It was great. I liked it.
But that music kicks in, and that's when you have to fight 4 orange Cactrots, which are basically small Cactuars, and they're really squirrely, but they're pretty easy to kill, you know. And once you win the fight and you approach the rock, there's some green, like, glitter Cactuar light, I guess, that like covers Cloud.
Cactuar dust.
It's magic Cactuar light dust.
Yeah, Cactuar, of course.
I'm just kidding.
There you go.
And it forces Cloud, it lands on Cloud, and it forces him into the Cactuar pose.
Yes, it's so good.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's hilarious.
And it's against his control.
And Yuffie and Red are like mocking him.
What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
Did you see his facial animations when that happens to him?
Yeah,
he's
his face is
very
great.
like, what is happening?
Because it's fun to watch funny things unfold, but it's even more fun to watch other people watch funny things unfold. And like Yuffie and Red are just dying, which I thought was kind of fun. It's all very stupid in like the best way.
It's great because Cloud is so serious and he's never cracking a joke. So it's like, and Yuffie is always the person that's always like cracking wise and laughing at things. So the fact that Cloud, the stoic character, has to do this.
You can see it in his face because he's usually always in control, right?
Right.
And then now he's 100%
And now
not.
he's completely not.
Well, saying that Cloud's always in control is probably not right.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I know, I'm kidding.
That's a good point. Like,
he always wants to be in control. Yeah, he's not always in control.
Hey, Cloud.
in between the moments of, his mental degradation,
Static freak out.
he's relatively in control.
Yes.
But it is fun. I don't know. I thought it was so funny that he takes this dumb pose because every Final Fantasy player out there recognizes the Cactuar because Cactuars are first introduced way back in Final Fantasy VI.
Oh, really?
I actually thought they were before then, but it was Final Fantasy VI where they first came out. So this...
The best Final Fantasy.
A lot of people would say
Yeah,
that.
your favorite. Yeah, a lot of people do. But this whole gag is just for anyone who has any kind of nostalgia for Final Fantasy, which is lots of fun.
Absolutely. The fan service to the extreme.
Exactly. Total fan service.
By the way, we appreciate it, Square. Keep doing it.
I actually do like this stuff. It's we talk about budgets and just bloat. This does slow down the pace of the game, and it's like whatever. But this is what we sign up for. This is what we're here for, to see Cloud look like a Cactuar and be ridiculous. Now, where he goes to after this and who he talks to,
then it gets a little bit.
Maybe we didn't sign up for that.
Okay.
It's so good. Yeah.
Let's get into that too, because there's more coming. This is just such a random quest,
weird.
you guys. It starts out with the sand monster, and then it goes to like the Cactuar pose, and then it ends up
it's like random to random to random to wow, I was not expecting this at the end kind of thing, right?
And that's like how the Protorelics always go. It's like there's no uniformity beside like that character and that voice, right? Everything else is like the bandits, Fort Condor, like you go into a game, it's just, but whatever. Okay, so let's find out what happens next, even though everybody listening knows this. So we've beaten the Cactrots, we've taken the Cactuar pose, and we've apparently, that's how you prove yourself worthy, I don't know if it's like taking the pose or the whatever. We've proved ourselves worthy somehow so that we can enter this green blob structure. So we head back to the green blob structure, we enter the door, we go down a ladder to like this little caged area, and we start hearing what sounds like kind of like chirping monkeys or something all around us. And we come to like an entrance or a hole in the cage where that's when we're greeted by some Cactuars, some more Cactuars, and they're wearing like number 10 bibs as though they're running a race or something like that. So it's actually Cactuars that we've been hearing, not monkeys. And Yuffie thinks they're cute.
Oh, they're adorable.
And Wise Red, I love Wise Red, right? He conveniently interprets what they're chirping about.
To them, the Protorelic is the treasure of the sands, it seems, which they have kept safe for generations. Moreover, they are duty-bound to ensure its safety until its rightful owner comes to claim it.
And this is where things went into outer space for me. So far, I've accepted the green blob structure, this Cactuar statue that emits light, the Cactuar-looking rock, the Cactuar pose. All of that is well within the tone and elements of this game and franchise, right? Definitely a detour from the main story and on the goofy side, but I can stay on board with Goofy as long as it's not too cringy, right? It's fun, it's stupidly fun, as I like to say. Even the sand giant, which I don't know, like, what the heck it's about, something in me shrugs and, like, goes along with it for the time being.
Yeah, that's character to the desert, right? Because you're roaming the desert and it's like, okay, that's...
It has character.
It's because you played 16 and you accepted Hugo Kupka's character, right? So, like, this one is the same thing.
They're not the same, but I know what you're saying. Like,
are they the same? Like, they're both Earth creatures, I guess?
I mean, from like a suspension of disbelief or just like accepting the storyline kind of thing.
Kupka has like a whole backstory that like has logic to it, whereas this is just a random sand creature, and I'm like, okay.
I don't think they're related that way, but they have similar, like, themes.
They're both Earth related.
The vibe. This is vibe storytelling or vibe game design.
Vibe. Oh, okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so now it's the next moments that I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Okay, so
And they were excellent, by the way.
Well,
we figured you might say that, Ernest. I'm glad that you are. So after Red interprets these Cactuars like language, he then suggests that their talk about the Protorelic could be a myth, and Yuffie says,
You're saying these guys have their own fairy tales? Sounds pretty silly to me.
and that's a forced line, obviously written to transition to the next moment in like a specific way, because, oh, that's so silly. They have their own fairy tales. Like, it's just, there's no other reason for that line.
Because no cultures have their own fairy tales, right? That doesn't exist.
But then we hear a voice. So, you guys.
You can't even tell it with a straight face. This is so good.
I can't even say it. We hear a voice say, hang on a sec, who you calling a fairy?
yeah.
Hang on a sec. Who are you calling a fairy?
And it's like, fuck, I can't even get through this, you guys. This is killing me. The first time I saw this, I was like, what in the bleep is happening?
It was so
Okay,
good.
okay.
Hey, we've already seen him before. We just didn't know who he was.
Yeah, we saw him in the gold saucer, like in the story that's
In the
projected.
hologram,
It's
yeah.
like makes me cry. It was so ridiculous to me. Okay, so this thug, I can't even.
By the way, this
Okay.
is one of those areas where I lament the fact that they don't pull in popular like third-party music. I love their music. I'm not criticizing it, but there's like certain like things that you could bring in
Okay.
at this moment and just nail it, but we couldn't.
90s thug music would absolutely be appropriate at this moment. If you're gonna play it, that's.
I wasn't even thinking that.
Oh, I am.
But
Like,
I'll
okay.
let you introduce the character first, and then I'll talk about it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so this thug street goblin creature walks out of the shadows.
Who's like 2 feet tall.
Right, he's like 2 feet tall. And when I say like thug street goblin, it's not just some like typical Final Fantasy goblin creature. It's a goblin wearing high top sneakers, shorts, a wife beater, and a vest with boxing gloves.
Like giant boxing gloves.
Yeah, and a black beanie with the letter G on it. And
Does he have a gold chain on, or was that just my AI version?
I can't remember if he had a gold chain, but he totally could have. Like,
I mean, it fits, right?
you might as well just throw that in, you know? And he talks like someone from the inner city 30 years ago.
Speech ain't that hard, lady. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Literally, right? I was gonna say, I could pinpoint him in time to when he would have been around.
Yeah. Well, he has high top sneakers.
He has the wife beater, but on top of it is like one of those life preserver vests.
Yeah, the life like Marty McFly wears.
but,
And
but it's like yellow instead of red or whatever.
Totally.
They're tying so many things together with this character. Like,
I don't think they are at all. Like, what are you talking about? Tying what?
I think they were just like, "Bleh," and then he just formed.
The vomit just formed into Genji.
I loved it.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
The thing that came to mind when I saw him for the first time, we just left the golden saucer, right? And I know, Jolie, you put the clip in the last episode of James Brown being like the king of funk, right? That clip you put in was from Rocky IV, and that's where Apollo Creed plays the boxer that's the U.S. boxer that ends up dying, right? When Ivan Drago knocks him out. So it was like one, for me, I realized no one else is going to draw this.
How does your mind go to these places, Ernest? We're talking about Final Fantasy. How do you even like go from random reference to random reference to random reference? Like, come back to us. Come back to us, Ernest. Come back.
This is the Apollo Creed of the goblins right here. That's immediately what I thought. That's why I said I loved it.
Okay, Apollo Creed, whatever. Might as well be, because it was like totally out of the blue for me. And we haven't even said his name, you guys. This, ladies and gentlemen, this goblin is Kid G.
Name's G. Kid G.
As in Kid Goblin.
Yeah, yeah.
Just, putting that out there.
But like 1990s shortened thug version of the word goblin.
But when we say thug, you think like he's got like this demeanor, like it's like he has a high-pitched voice, like he's this little child.
Descended from a long line of goblins.
It's not like he's this menacing.
That's, yeah.
He's more like I know he's hilarious, but the beanie, the part that did it for me, because that's something you typically see like suburban affluent kids wear.
Really?
But then mixed with the streetwear and then the boxing gloves, gloves, I was like, this is some iconography I could not have put together myself.
No, it doesn't match anything.
Yeah, it's like
the way they did this was just so good.
It's a hodgepodge of what is happening. I was so confused, you guys. And remember, okay, so let's put this into context, right? So while no part of this quest up to this point had been meant to be taken seriously, it all at least pointed back to Final Fantasy elements that we're familiar with.
Right, that's very true.
You know, particularly like the Cactuars, which we know to be like silly and quirky, but they're also like a major mascot for the series.
Like, we're already bought in.
Right. We're taking the ride, we're having a good time. And even the sand giant points back to a common warrior character we know from this series, and we've heard his voice before, so there's something familiar about it. But now there's this solo goblin character that seems to be like plucked from a totally different planet and time period and placed here for what reason? Like, and I don't mean what story reason, I mean like what developer reason.
Yeah.
Like what were they thinking? And to be honest, when I first saw Kid G, something was vaguely familiar about him. Like, I'm like, did they pull him from the original game? I couldn't put my finger on it. So I did immediately assume that he had to either be paying homage to a character from original Final Fantasy VII that I just couldn't put my finger on, maybe from like an optional side quest or something, or that he was from some other Final Fantasy game and they just like brought him here. I could not believe that the developers would put this character in here for any other reason. And this actually will surprise you, Spencer. So I went back and I checked my recorded footage.
From the original game?
Of replaying original Final Fantasy VII 5 years ago. But I could not find Kid G anywhere.
I wouldn't think that he's part of it.
Well, you wouldn't think. So I was more confused.
Uh-huh.
Because that, again, if he's not from the original game or something,
like why?
It meant that when the game developers were sitting around thinking about what to put in this side quest, not only did they come up with the idea to put some totally like random wannabe streetwise like goblin dressed like a boombox toting city thug from the 1990s. Like, not only did they think like, let's put that in there and then adding boxing gloves to it, right? But that idea was actually greenlit.
They were like, this is a good idea.
And I'm telling you right now, it was greenlit by somebody who played Street Fighter, because that character Balrog from Street Fighter was like...
Shut! No. Okay. Maybe. It was random enough. It could have been from anything like that, Ernest. But I could not let it go.
Whoa! No need for all that.
And it was like disturbing to me. Like, I'm so involved in these Final Fantasy franchises at this point, like emotionally and mentally. I was like disturbed. I was like not feeling okay. So I ended up doing some more digging. And there apparently is a reason other than stupid randomness as to why Kid G is in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth when he feels so out of place. Okay, so...
Okay, good.
Apparently... And some of you out there may already know this, but Kid G is in original Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
He's a rare enemy. He's only known as a goblin, not as Kid G, unfortunately for him. And you can only find him on this really small forest part of a little island that you can only get to by airship that's kind of referred to as Goblin Island. And I must not have found that island when I replayed the game 5 years ago, but I'm pretty sure I did find the island in my original playthrough back in the 1990s because I was extremely thorough in that playthrough.
Yeah, didn't you follow like a strategy guide and do everything?
I followed the strategy guide, the Brady Games guide, right? But I did everything. And that would explain why when I saw Kid G here, yes, he felt super random, but there was this like vague familiarity that I experienced when I saw him in this quest. I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. And it also makes me a little more forgiving that the developers put him in here because they actually had a reason for doing so, but only a little bit more like forgiving.
I thought it was just like totally random.
Well, a lot of people apparently did. Like if you go online, people are like, what is going on with this Kid G character? And that's exactly how I responded. Because really, okay, you could argue that just because something is an homage play,
right,
it still needs to be executed well in order to make it good, right?
Yeah.
Because honestly, even though Kid G was technically like a nod to something from the original game, it appears it was the modern game developers who decided to keep him in like his original 1990s rapper wardrobe with no updated design. And then they slapped a G on his beanie, which apparently the G on his beanie actually came from the original Nomura concept art. This is a Nomura character.
Whoa, huge surprise.
Shocker.
Nomura.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way that could be a Nomura thing, right? I mean,
Hey, but Nomura also designed Sephiroth and Aerith and all these people.
Nomura's very talented in many ways. I just don't love some of his story choices.
Oh, yeah. We're just making fun. But yes, he's incredibly talented.
But then, he comes up with Sephiroth, but then he also created Kid G. So
equivalent.
And really, who's better, right?
Equivalent.
Just as good and menacing.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I would put my money on Kid G.
Yeah.
In that fight.
Don't underestimate him.
Because he'll fight dirty. He has no honor, right?
But I remember, okay, fine, paying homage. I don't know. I feel like it has to have good execution to work. Okay, his lines are super cheesy.
Who are you calling a fairy?
The voice actor is super forcing it, right? He's trying to play a certain vibe.
Given your present company, I'm shocked you haven't shaken that preconception.
This character is not necessary to even this mini story, which makes him feel all the more random because you could have just read us more Book of Kings scripture on the walls or something to let us know, or Chadley could have explained something to let us know what to do in this quest. He's unnecessary, which makes him feel all the more random. And I get that the developers wanted to include as many original game elements as they could, which I actually really like and really respect.
Yeah.
And I get that they couldn't put, if they really wanted to put this goblin creature in the game, they couldn't put this, boxing glove wearing high top sporting beanie goblin in a random forest to fight because it would feel too anthropomorphic to fit with the rest of the monsters in that region. It would hurt the world building of that area. So I get that.
They could have put him in where's the place where you fight the Hell House?
Like an arena. Yeah.
They should have put him in the Corel prison.
That's
arena.
my point. They could have put him in any arena as one of the enemies you fight.
Because Hell House is just an enemy that you fight in the original game.
Right.
Just like they did the Hell House.
But you're totally right, where it's they make it this big deal.
Because you can't go in the combat simulator, because combat simulator is all the stuff we've already fought before, or ramped up versions of those. But maybe the Corel prison arena. But instead, they decide to bring him into this quest. And the quest was kind of a joke already to begin with, so maybe they thought this would just add to it. But I don't know. Okay, so I let me get to the conclusion of my thoughts here. I just had so many. I kind of respect what the developers did here in a way, right? But at the same time, I just think Kid G is so dumb. I think if they insisted on making it work, I think they needed to make him hilarious on his own somehow. Even if that meant going more over the top with the 90s stuff or breaking the fourth wall or something, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think a lot of people or enough people playing this game remembered the Goblin enemies from original 7 to be excited when he appears on screen because they recognize him. I didn't recognize him, and I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan.
That's true.
I bet most people didn't know who he was.
Yeah, so paying homage kind of falls flat, leaving little else to really make him nothing other than bizarre and kind of cringy. I mean, maybe I'm alone on that. Maybe I'm alone, but...
No, you're not alone. Everyone hates Kid G. Do you think there's a single person who's played this game that thought Kid G was peak? He was the best.
I don't think he was peak, but I would say if you were trying to roundabout way get to a 90s stereotype, that's pretty close.
Ernest liked him. Okay, the way we were saying, Ernest is a fan.
Ernest is the guy that I was asking about.
I'm glad you're here.
I would have just had Snoop Dogg voice in there, to kind of bring it all together.
I agree with what you're saying, Jolie, because it just seems so out of place. There's this famous quote from George Lucas in the Phantom Menace episode 1, DVD behind the scenes footage. And he's talking about Jar Jar Binks and how nobody likes Jar Jar Binks, right? Well, he's like, Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
Jar Jar is the key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had.
I remember when he said that.
Yeah, there's a famous quote of George Lucas saying this.
Yeah, that spawned an entire conspiracy thing, yeah.
But it's funny.
Was he trolling or was he being dead serious?
No, he's being dead serious. And to me, it's so funny because I'm thinking of the Japanese developers that they're totally working out this game. They're Kid G is the key to all of this. This is going to be, it's perfect. It's going to make the Protorelic amazing, So dumb.
In part 3, you're going to get Kid G as one of those, the 2-player attack thing.
Oh, like he's a synergy ability where
you're going to get him as like a synergy at the final
Oh,
boss.
please no.
That would be pretty cool.
Yes. Oh, I would so love that. And then if they just play James Brown in the background while the fight's going down, I'm there.
Never going to happen, Ernest.
You're already there. You're already on board.
I'm waiting for it. Yeah.
So you were a fan, right, Ernest? You saw Kid G and you thought it was good?
I was a huge fan. Yeah. At first, I was like, what is going on here?
You liked it.
Okay.
And then after a while, I was like, that was pretty good.
You liked it.
I like that.
I love that you had that reaction.
I love that you liked it.
Because, okay, with other homage moments, right, in the game thus far.
I'm sorry.
Spencer's like, we knew he would like this.
I can't believe you liked it. I can't believe you.
Look, I like this better than having to run the stupid electrical wires all over the place to open the doors.
That's fair.
Well, luckily, those aren't your two only choices.
This was way better than that.
Kill me.
So with other homage moments in the game this far, like remember the random hiker that you see when you're climbing Mount Corel?
I don't get it. Tons of folks hiking up the mountain today, and not a one of them so much as nodded my way.
Yep. So if you haven't played the original game, those moments are really random, but at least those moments have some kind of logic to them. Like, okay, there's a weird hiker.
Yeah, he can exist in this world.
Yeah, he's got a gun. He's complaining about people who don't have good manners. It feels random, but there could be a hiker there who is acting that eccentric. It feels weird that developers would do that if you don't know where he came from. But at least he's a human who fits into this world and not some like 90s flashback anthropomorphic creature wearing Air Jordans. Like it just felt so, I don't know. Okay, I'm
Air Max 95s.
Okay. To Ernest's points, we did fight like something called the Hell House, right? Like this is a ridiculous game. Whatever.
And that Hell House fight was over the top too, right? That's what I appreciated the most. There was fan service, right? Obviously, but it was like the over the top nature of it.
Whereas, like, I think people remember fighting the house.
But that's what I'm saying. I wish Kid G was more over the top so that he would be funnier.
Yeah, they should have gone more.
Or more recognizable.
Yeah, because I feel like they didn't lean hard enough to where it was just awkward, you know, and like kind of cringy.
And how did you miss the voice acting? Like, you have Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre's still alive. Like, you have an entire...
They're not going to get those guys.
They're not going to pay millions of dollars for this stupid goblin character.
Kid G is the key to all of this, all right? They need to get him.
Jar Jar is the key to all this.
I am so going to laugh if he plays some, like, monumental role at the end of this game.
He will not.
I am going to crack up.
Oh, I will laugh and cry. That's another thing, though, too. It's like, even though I thought this was random and kind of poorly executed, it's so fun that this stuff is in there because it's fun to even be bothered by these things because they're so stupid.
That's the whole point, right?
Like, it's kind of like... I'm enjoying myself, obviously.
Right.
Like, I'm having a good time with Kid G, even though I think he's ridiculous.
Me too.
You're never going to be playing a AAA game with this high of a budget where they're going to spend time on someone like Kid G, right? Like, you're never going to go and play like a Western developed game where they're going to take the time to do something like this. So yes, it is like this beautiful, stupid unicorn of a game. And it's fun.
I loved it. I mean, now what's even better is as we kind of play through it, figure out like why he's there and what he's doing, right? Like it's a good story. I liked it at least.
I had opinions. But I love that Ernest loved it. Ernest, the developers, they should be such fans of you.
I mean, somebody who's played since the original, right? And
you're just along for the ride, and it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
And I'm having fun, too. I'm just more critical along the way, I think, is probably what's going on.
Like, I hate the Moogles, but I love the Moogles. It's all the same.
Yeah, love-hate with the Moogles, too. But back to what's happening here in the scene. So this Kid G guy starts quoting scripture to us. From the Book of Kings.
Quote Cactuar scripture, the Book of Kings. Unto those who seek the treasure of these sands, a trial shall be given. If you think you've got what it takes to be the treasure's rightful owner, you're gonna have to prove it first.
And he's backed up by like some unified chanting from the Cactuars. You remember that? They're like,
oh, I remember.
And then it's time for the Cactuar mini game, specifically called Cactuar Crush. And the goal of this mini game is to take out as many Cactuars as possible in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And you use Yuffie as your fighter. And different Cactuars are worth different numbers of points, which you can see by the number of bib that they're wearing. And I'm just curious how you guys did.
Yuffie's great because she can fight.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I did great. I know I progressed the story. I don't remember exactly what my score was or anything like that, but I remember it being a lot of fun once I figured out what I was supposed to do.
And got through it.
Yeah, there's no special mechanic with Yuffie. You just use her natural abilities. And
you just go in and you fight as Yuffie. Yeah, so I'm with you guys. Apparently people online, there's a lot of people who didn't like this game at all, but I actually thought this minigame was kind of fun. I didn't ace it right away because I didn't find the right strategy right up front. I didn't figure out which move does the best damage. And I also thought it took a long time to recover when you're blown up by a Cactuar's bombs. Like I felt like, oh, like hurry up, get moving again, you know? And sometimes the camera angle was even against me. Like I'd go in a place where I can't see what's happening. Not as bad as Final Fantasy 15 where it did that all the time, but
yeah, but this is like a Protorelic mini game where you're using the same mechanics that you've been doing throughout the whole game. Whereas it's like it doesn't throw you into Fort Condor, and it's like
it's not brand new stuff.
Not that mini games are bad, because that's a big part of what Final Fantasy VII's identity is.
Yeah,
but this is one where you just get to do the things that you've been doing the whole time, but it's got a little mini game attached to it where you get points for killing certain Cactuars and you have to dodge the bombs. So it's not as frustrating.
The bombs I found interesting, to your point, Jolie, because it was like someone sat there and play tested it where they made the recovery time from the bomb just long enough to feel extremely uncomfortable.
Right, it was all on purpose.
Because you had the timer on you.
You're supposed to dodge it.
Right, it was all designed to be that way, and it was great.
I thought it was kind of fun. The music stressed me out. I hate that kind of music, like the grungy, like loud. I hate like hard rock stuff. That's just personal preference. I'm not a fan. But you need 1,000 points to move on. On my first try, I sucked. I got 540, which was pathetic. But again, I would think I was relying more on physical attacks instead of like Yuffie's ninjutsu. But then on my second try, I focused on the ninjutsu, and that's where I discovered. So you probably all did this. The Windstorm ability was this AoE that Yuffie has, and it's pretty good in this game. So I did better, got like over 1,200 points the second time. And I found it fun enough that I did it 3 more times just for kicks and ended up with like 1,880 points, which was good enough for the rank 2 rewards. Even though I never got the rank 3 rewards, I didn't stick around enough for that. But Spencer, like, I thought I was all right at this game, and then I watched Spencer play it when I was passing through the bedroom at one point, and he like dominated without even trying. So I was like, okay, I suck.
No.
Whatever. He put me to shame. So not too shabby of a minigame. Again, to your point, it's because they're not introducing new mechanics you got to figure out on the fly, which is more comfortable for us, even if the bombs are annoying. So after we meet the requirements for the first rank, then Kid G actually claps for us with his big boxer gloves.
Gotta say, I'm impressed.
You gonna hand over the Protorelic then?
Never heard anyone call it that before. But I'm a goblin of my word. So here.
And then he hands over what looks like some kind of like metal headband or an armband or something.
And so, as promised, your piece of the prize.
Piece? We want the whole thing, Shrimp!
Then you're gonna need to go around and gather up the other bits. Put it together yourself.
Right. So what you're saying is...
that more trials await. And that yours truly will be your guide. See you next time.
So this isn't the last time we see him, right? Then Chadley like transmits in, and he's a little too excited about all of this.
Increase in body temperature detected. I believe I'm rather excited.
And he gives us the next location. He explains some story stuff about how the Cactuars have like repurposed these mini reactors for Cactuar nectar or something. I don't know. I logged that stuff away pretty quick. I didn't really care. And then that's the first quest of the Protorelic path in the Corel region. Now, when it comes to the second Protorelic quest, much of it is the same. So you find another green blobby structure with a locked door, you use a Cactuar statue to guide you to a Cactuar rock, you fight some Cactuars, in this case it's 3 gold Cactuars, and they dodge your hits a lot, so they're a little bit more tricky, you know, they're amping up the difficulty a little bit. And then when Cloud hesitates to approach the rock after what happened last time...
What are you waiting for? Go on, touch it!
Ladies first.
Oh no, you're way better at the whole putting yourself in harm's way thing.
Fine.
but this time the Cactuar glitter hits Yuffie. Do you remember this?
It's not Cloud this time.
Right, and instead it forces her into a Cactuar pose, which I think is kind of fun. And I like how Cloud says to her,
Word of advice, don't fight it.
Yes, heed the voice of experience.
Yeah, it is good.
which is like mocking Cloud, right?
Yeah, it's really good because they mock Cloud the first time, but then, Cloud gets to have this opportunity where it fits his character. He's not like, ha ha, Yuffie, he's just like, don't try and fight it. And then you've got wise Red.
Right, but then Red mocks him anyway.
Right. Yeah, Red teases him.
Yes, heed the voice of experience.
So once we do all that, we can go through the door and down the ladder of that second green blob structure where we meet our favorite goblin, Kid G.
You know how this ends.
Do I ever? But do you?
Ready for our next mini game, only this time it's Aerith, who literally like comes out of nowhere and she volunteers to give it a shot.
Let's see, who looks fit to fight?
Ooh, me! Can I give it a go?
It's like super out of the blue since these quests have been all about Yuffie, Red, and Cloud.
Right.
Up until this point, I didn't even know Aerith was around, and like literally they're looking for the next person to play, and she comes out of the shadows and she's like, I'll do it or something.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it should be Red or Cloud.
That's what I thought it would be.
Because it's like those three doing the whole thing together.
Yeah, but instead it's Aerith, and this time there are a few different mechanics that are thrown into this one. For one thing, there's really big Cactuars that are worth a lot more points. That's not that different. But now there's these Light-Tuars and Dark-Tuars.
Yeah, the light and the dark stuff, yeah.
That force Aerith to like conjure up anti-light or anti-dark wards to help her take them out. And then they even give us like different button shortcuts for casting these. It's all very out of the blue and totally new to the game, so you have to learn it quickly.
They literally implement a brand new combat mechanic for Aerith to do this stupid game. Okay, with Yuffie, the game was fine because you just fought with Yuffie, right? But then with Aerith, it's like, oh, you have to put down a different ward. We're going to do the light ward, the dark ward. You're going to have to pay attention to the Cactuars that are coming. It's like, now this is an example of a waste of time. Okay, Final Fantasy developers, like we could just fought with Aerith at normal abilities. We should have fought with Red or Cloud. But that aside, this is a waste of time. You don't need to do this.
It does feel like overkill.
Too much.
Yeah, too much, for sure. And I also just thought this mini game with Aerith was far less satisfying than it was with Yuffie. So Yuffie, you feel like you can dominate. It gets kind of fun. And I did pass the rank 1 on my first try, but I felt super sloppy doing it, and I kept doing different tactics that didn't work very well. Like I was trying out like her jet stream ability that always missed. Eventually, I figured out like her Rolling Thunder was pretty good for an AoE, and I was able to do all right, but I just didn't have as good of a time with Aerith.
Yeah, it was dumb.
This might be a little bit conspiracy, but I feel like the devs are doing this to us on purpose. Like they're purposely making Aerith less interesting and less powerful because
No, they're not.
in the third installment, it's going to go the opposite direction.
No.
100% disagree. Because
it's so critical.
I know.
I'm lamenting the fact of the next game. I won't say why, but we all know. But like, Aerith is the strongest character in this game.
Yeah, no, by far.
But when it comes to fighting, these little mini games don't show off like her abilities. She's not doing like a magnify materia where she's nuking the entire party, where she puts down an arcane ward and then she can just blow up the Cactuars, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're not using the new mechanics, then you can't use Aerith how you normally play her. So I disagree. I don't think that they're nerfing her just for you to like for her to be strong in part 3, but
yeah, I don't think it's on purpose.
I just think it's dumb and they wasted their time.
Yeah, I think it's one of those like they're modulating the thing, right? Because all these things are design decisions in the game, right? So
Kid G is the key to all of this. That was a decision.
Kid G was a good call. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think this is an example of them being like, we've got time and money.
Do all the things. And then
they probably had a special team that just worked on this part. And then they're like, okay, like what'll be fun if Aerith has a different mechanic?
And I mean, humans are fallible.
Bad.
Right? And humans made this game. Therefore, I tend to think that they're just mistakes, I think, that are made rather than things being on purpose. But I could be wrong, Anyway, so once you hit rank 1, Kid G gives us like some horn-looking Protorelic piece.
You sure showed me. And I still thought you might be no better than a bunch of bumbling bandits.
And he says, we're not even close to being done collecting the pieces. But then, and this made me laugh too. So if you try these Protorelic quests during Chapter 9, you're apparently only allowed to do the first and the second one.
Yeah, you can't do them all.
The other two you can't do until like Chapter 12 or something like that. So you can't even get the Protorelic for this area until a later chapter. But the thing that made me laugh was how Kid G communicates this to us.
I could use a bit of time to shore up the next trial, seeing as you kind of breezed through the first two.
Then he asks for our contact info.
Get my number.
So that he can hit us up when they're ready.
On our pager, mind you.
Well, that's the thing. It might as well be a pager. That would maybe make more sense. But we hold out that, you know, the gun transmitter thing that we talked to Chadley on?
Yeah.
We hold that thing out to Kid G, and he types on it with his big boxing gloves. And I don't know if he's getting our info or giving us info, whatever. This is how we're exchanging info, is through this boxing glove transmitter thing.
You'll be hearing from me soon.
And his last word to us is literally...
Peace.
See you later.
Which is just 90s enough to be cringe, but not 90s enough to be funny. So it's like another one of those like awkward zones for me. Like, okay. But again, I am enjoying myself, just not maybe for the reasons that were intended. And there's another YouTube comment here. So the Andrew John Bennett said, Kid G and his trials are both not fun and long. He said, I don't mean each trial is long itself, but the side quest extends beyond Chapter 9, which I don't usually like, similar to Johnny's, but at least for Johnny, it's tied to a fun boss fight. So he's not a fan.
Don't fight it.
And those are the Protorelic quests for the desert side of Corel in Chapter 9, right? So that's it. Although Gongaga has its own Protorelic quests that we'll be discussing later, which sadly don't involve a Goblin character. But it's interesting because the same chapter has two different Protorelic tracks.
Yeah, this is why this chapter's so big, because you're cleaning up the intel from Chapter 6, Chapter 7, and Chapter 8. And then you jump into the story stuff for Chapter 9, and then you do the intel for Chapter 9, all before you advance to Chapter 10.
I almost feel like it maybe should have been divided.
Yeah.
But then that would have made 15 chapters, and I think they wanted it to be 14 because it's like twice of 7. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
It's interesting because if you follow the critical path, you can ignore all the remaining stuff from Chapters 6 and 7 and 8.
So then it does become just centralized. That's true.
And have you guys noticed that as soon as you get to Gongaga, you can do a little bit of intel first, but basically once you hit the city of like Gongaga, or the town, I guess, it starts moving you in the critical path.
Yeah, it's full on story at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right after you do the stuff in Gongaga, then it's like, okay, then you can go explore the jungle after that. It kind of is like, you don't get the traversal stuff until you do the critical path anyway. So you can tell that they're like, all right, we're not going to make you do all this enemy intel stuff in Chapter 8 and then just do a ton more intel stuff in Chapter 9.
Right. They want to break it up a little bit.
It was a deliberate choice for them to be like, go to the reactor, then do the stuff if you want, or you could just go to the airstrip and go to Chapter 10.
Yeah. And then one more thing about this whole series of quests here is that before you head to Gongaga, if you're exploring the sand areas, you'll randomly hear or see that dramatic sand giant just pop out of the ground in various places.
That's cool.
And he'll like moan something and then crash back into the earth.
I regret everything.
And I remember even wondering if I was missing something because I ended up going to Gongaga, as we all did, before any of this sand guy stuff was resolved. So I was like, should I have done something more with him? Right. But I guess maybe we'll come back.
No, my body cannot hold.
Okay. Mini games, there are more of them. Speaking of mini games, if you love the Moogle Roundup game,
the Mog House,
from the tropical side of Corel Region, you're in luck because there's a second Mog stool located in Corel. There's two, one on the tropical side, one on the desert side. And this one has more frequent bombs in the mini game. It's got some like added blue mushroom obstacles, and then it has just as obnoxious little Mooglets that you have to round up. Do you guys remember how this went for you?
I did all right for this one, but then it was the one in the jungle where I struggled.
The one in Gongaga. Same here.
Because they introduce like a time limit and make it trickier.
Yes. Yeah, the time limit's not in this one. It's in the Gongaga one, to your point. Yeah. Yeah, I beat this one on my first try, too. I mean, I think I only got hit by a magic ball thing one time, which I was happy about because I think I've made it pretty clear during past discussions that I complete these Moogle quests out of loyalty to being a completionist and not because I find them anywhere near the word fun.
Right. Well, the rewards are really good, though, because
that's the thing.
If you complete them, then you can get like a whole like tome.
Folio books. Yeah, you get the folio books.
My skill tree or whatever, make it more,
Yeah, so you kind of have to do these Moogle minigames to get those items right.
It's important to spend the Moogle medals.
And this particular game also, afterwards, you can buy the vibro detector, which is a critical key item for another side quest in a future chapter. So if you don't do these, then you can't do some of the side quests. So some of them feed into each other. But there was one thing in particular that stood out to me, I will say really quick, about this Mog stool. So once you complete the minigame and you talk to the main Moogle who has the annoying voice.
As a reward, I'll tell you the story of how Mog and Mag fell in love. It's so romantic.
The Moogle tells us this story about how these Moogles named Mog and Mag fell in love after Mog did everything he could to learn to fly.
Eventually, Mag noticed how hard he was working and decided she would do everything in her power to support him. As time passed, the two became closer and closer until one day, I'll leave the rest to your imagination.
And as I was playing this game, I wrote down in my notes, Moogle sex joke, ?
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, but it like seemed a little weird that this bouncy Moogle with like this cartoon voice was implying something like this when it seemed totally unnecessary. But then I remember
the original.
This is another one of those homage pays, right? So if you think back to the Mog story from original Final Fantasy VII, which I walked through in our Chapter 8 discussions, that's where this little story is coming from. So the little Moogle sex joke is actually from that. Not in like a dirty way either.
They just have a family.
Yeah, they have a family. So in the original game, there's like, it's actually like a sort of mini game at the Gold Saucer. And it walks us through the story of exactly this. So Mog the Moogle learns to fly so he can attract a mate. And then you see a bunch of cute little Mooglets coming out of their toadstool. So it's actually really charming. I think it's cute. Way cuter than the versions that we see in Rebirth. So this is another one of those moments in Rebirth that might be a bit of a head scratcher if you don't know that it's a nod to the original game. It's no Kid G, but not every confusing moment can earn Kid G status.
Whoa, no need for all that.
So now, not only does Chapter 9 allow you to explore a ton of new desert area, which is actually pretty cool with its like canyons and like old structures and sandscapes that are all laid out in front of like this modern gold saucer facade. I just think all the areas look so rad.
Yeah, I have in my notes, even if you look at the entire map, if you hit the map button, you can see where, you know, you have Costa del Sol and then you have the gold saucer and Corel, all the place that we've traversed. They built this whole world, right? And it's like you come and go. And when the buggy opens up, then you can kind of drive all the way to the places that you've been.
Go anywhere.
It's pretty amazing.
The artwork is amazing in general, right? Like they put a lot of effort into the artwork in this game.
Final Fantasy fans are extremely lucky that this project exists.
It is pretty impressive. I mean, the people who worked on it should be proud of themselves. Ignore all of our critical remarks because it really doesn't matter. The game is so awesome as a whole.
Put in more people like Kid G. Do it more.
Let's not go that far, please.
Okay.
Okay, so not only does Chapter 9 allow you to explore a ton of new desert area, which is really rad, right? But there's also these new side quests that are suddenly available not only in North Corel, but also way back in Costa del Sol.
Yeah, you can go back.
And some of these side quests are pretty expansive, and they're even kind of critical to some of the like extra elements in the game. That said, I really liked some of these side quests, but there were a couple of them that annoyed me to high heaven.
I want to hear about this.
So let's go through them in detail. Yeah. By the way, like Spencer and I do not talk about this game when we're off camera.
We always want to.
Because we have much to say, but we're like, nope, can't talk about it. Got to save it for the podcast.
Because I'm replaying it again. I'm like, oh, this part. And then we just look at each other and we say,
it's like, let's
just wait until we record.
Because we want our reactions to be authentic, right? Like we want this to be a real conversation, not know what's coming, right? So the first side quest I took on, you guys, around this point, okay, is back in Barrett's neck of the woods of North Corel. And you can pick it up either from the community notice board, or you can even, I think you can get it on the notice board in Corel Prison. And it's called Missing Mr. Birdie. Okay, so who did this?
I did this one.
I did not.
Okay, so Ernest didn't do it. Ernest, you totally missed out.
There's some stuff I want to talk about on this here, but yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, remember, this is part where like I decided later to go back.
Yeah.
So I did not do this part, yeah.
Well, you're about to hear about it. Anyway.
That's fine. Now, look, you're not going to like convince me one way or another to do these side quests. So
okay.
If I do them, I do them, yeah.
Are you a side quest fan, or are you just kind of like, nah?
Well, I generally like to play through one time just to do the main storyline and then come back and do all the little side quests later. But that's what I tried to do when I started this game. And then I realized that there are things that I'm missing that I might need for other things later.
Gotcha.
And so I should probably go back and get all those things.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But Missing Mr. Birdie, not one of those. Okay. So I'm
so excited. Tell me why you don't like it or do like it.
As usual. So I'm probably a killjoy for saying this, because I'm sure there are people out there, and I think, Spencer, you probably didn't even feel this way, but who thought this side quest was adorable or had a good message.
I don't think it's adorable, but...
Or was fun or something. But I did not like this side quest at all. Like, I thought...
Why not? I want to hear it.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm about to tell you. I just thought it was super annoying and had moments that were completely forced. So let me go through some of those moments really quick. Okay, so the quest starts inside North Corel, which is, that town that's kind of decrepit at this point after the tragedy of the reactor.
Yeah, Barrett's hometown.
Yeah, or the adjacent one. We trying to figure that out.
Whatever.
Basically his hometown area, right?
The remnants of...
Yeah. So it starts out near the desert gate entrance of this town, and you go in there and you encounter a group of kids.
Please come back, Mr. Birdie! Here, Birdie Bird! Mr. Birdie, it's time for dinner! Mr. Birdie, where are you?
You guys, I know I'm a broken record, but okay, I'm a film director, and this just set me on a path of annoyance right up front. Like this side quest might not even be that bad, but because of this, I just could not get on board.
I thought this might be the case.
Yeah, okay, so the kids, you encounter this group of kids, and again, I'm a film director, so I have high standards here. The kids have the most obnoxious voice acting performances ever.
You guys, Grandpa said he saw Mr. Birdie heading toward the desert. What? But we aren't allowed to go all the way out there.
And it's not because like the voice actors themselves aren't talented, but it's because these kids
they're not kids.
They're not kids. They're 40-year-old women. They're like me, right? They're pretending to be children, which always sounds so forced and so bad. It's like throwing rocks into my ears. You guys, I cannot handle it. I cannot handle it. If you've watched other episodes, I just can't. I just can't do it. I can't. And I know that, okay, child actors themselves usually aren't great either, but at least they sound like children, right? So now you have people who aren't good and they don't sound like children. So it's like double cringe to me. And for those of you who are planning to maybe yell at me in the comments because you think that child acting is a terrible business, I agree with you. Child acting is typically a terrible business, but doing a little voice acting as a child, if you find it fun and your parents aren't forcing you to do it, and you're not like some child star, that's totally different than like landing a main role on a Disney Channel show that guarantees that you'll be messed up for the rest of your life.
Sure.
So there's a difference, right? And as a film director, I've directed mostly the kind that don't mess you up, right? And anyway, I can't handle when kids are voiced by adults. I hate it. Hate it. I'm a middle-aged woman with a bit of acting experience myself. And in order to like try to make myself sound young, I have to like tense up my vocal cords and sound like a cartoon more than an actual child. Like,
oh, I miss my teddy bear.
Like, it's so stupid, you guys. It's so stupid.
That's amazing.
That's exactly my point, is it just sounds awful. And it's exactly what happens here. So that was the first annoying thing to me in this quest. And it hits us off right off the bat, but there are more.
Really?
So the next annoying thing of this quest is that the dialogue is not great.
Oh, Mr. Birdie is a bird friend of ours?
The 40-year-old kids tell Barret that their parents told them that they can't speak to him.
Mommy said I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Oh, is that so? Well then, why don't you talk to this old fella instead?
Which of course emphasizes the hatred that this whole town has for Barret, and that's fine. That's okay, I get it. It forwards the theme of this place. And then we learn they're all worried because their bird friend, they call Mr. Birdie, has run away toward the desert where these kids are not allowed to go. And then we learn that Mr. Birdie has feathers like Cloud's hair.
His head is all pointy. Kind of like yours, mister.
So that leads us to assume that this must be Cloud Jr.
From Chapter 7.
Which is fine. It's fine. This little chick that we rescued from that ugly butt bird boss back in Chapter 7. Yeah.
Bring him back.
Bringing it back.
Fan favorite.
So then Barret volunteers us to go help find this bird that flew into the desert, which I wondered, like, it's a bird. Like, won't it fly back when it wants to fly back? Like, is there a problem with it flying into the desert? Like, maybe they're worried about monsters eating it or something? Like, just like what was about to happen when we first met Cloud Jr., but they never say that. So it just seems like this big nothing burger of a quest when we have better things to do than find a bird that flew to where birds fly.
Yeah, that's fair. It's
forced.
Well, this is definitionally a side quest. So in a lot of JRPGs or RPGs in general, it's like people gripe on side quests being pointless, like fetch quests where you go do these things that don't really matter, right? Whereas like other games are touted for having amazing side quests that flesh out the story.
This is not those.
No way.
It gets worse, though, because even though it feels like this nothing burger task, Barret treats it like it's incredibly important.
I understand there's no making amends for how I did these people wrong, but I want to help. I need to help.
And then he goes even deeper about like how hitching his wagon to Shinra is his burden to bear. So he's really doing this for himself and all that, to which I say, it's a bird. It's a bird.
Yeah.
It will fly back. Who cares? And it's moments like this that actually make me wonder, like, did John Eric Bentley, who's the voice of Barret, right? Did he read this part of the script and have to like get really emotionally creative in order to muster up like the forced sincerity needed to deliver these lines as the developers intended for Barret? Because props to Eric, he totally does it. He's a fantastic voice actor who authentically sells everything he speaks. He's extremely consistent in his authenticity. But certain scenes clearly lend themselves to that authenticity more easily than others. And I always am like, oh, poor John. He had to talk about the birdie.
Yeah.
But anyway, from there, so our objective is to then transmute bird traps using parts previously found in excavation sites. So this is another example. You have to do the excavation site stuff in order to even do this quest. So if this quest doesn't pop up for you, it's because you didn't do the excavation sites. And then we go around the desert and we put bird traps and some bait inside little bird houses that are conveniently hanging in trees around this sandscape. And the kids mentioned that these bird houses were put there back in the Republic days.
It's already there. They know.
Yeah, you're right.
Grandpa said there's some old bird houses out in the desert that people built back in the Republic days. He said those are good places to set traps.
We're not allowed in that desert, but we know about these bird traps.
We know about these bird traps, right?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's an attempted explainer for why there are these random birdhouses hanging in dead trees around this dead landscape, but it's so silly.
It's just dumb exposition to set up the quest.
Yes.
That doesn't matter. I agree.
Doesn't make any sense. So it's just adding, none of these things taken on their own, except for the 40-year-old kid actor, whatever, are really that bad. But like all added together, I'm just like, this is the dumbest quest.
Yep.
Like I cannot handle this.
What?
And then I'm thinking, okay, now I'm going to have to spend the next 45 minutes of my life doing this quest, right?
Yeah.
Chasing this bird that flew somewhere where birds are allowed to fly. So, and then some of these birdhouses are like way out in the middle of nowhere where no self-respecting member of any republic would think it's a good place to hang a birdhouse. Okay, I'm overthinking all this. Whatever. Okay, so we go around the desert and we're setting traps. No, everyone had these
Yeah,
thoughts.
we all had a problem.
Well then.
So we set these traps. We put bait in these birdhouses or traps, whatever. And when we go back to check if we've caught anything in each one, we then have to fight some kind of monster that either ate our bait or whatever until we finally find Cloud Jr. at the final trap where he's being stalked by a gigant bomb, basically a bomb, and we have to fight the bomb.
Pretty massive.
And this fight was actually kind of hilarious for me. It was probably my favorite part of this whole quest because Final Fantasy fans know that if you can't kill a bomb fast enough or you irritate it the wrong way, then it will kamikaze itself and take out your party at the same time, which is exactly what happened to me here. The bomb does this move called Massive Explosion, which is the kamikaze move, and it totally blows up on Cloud, who I wasn't playing at the time, and it throws him backwards, and then he just stands up like nothing happened, and then the happy music like comes in and like nothing happened.
Enemy's over.
Because it's over.
Can you take over
I
for
got
me?
The visual just made me laugh.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But the thing that was probably the most interesting to me about this side quest was some of the dialogue that was thrown in between the characters.
Yes, this is what I want to talk about.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you're running across the desert, you're looking at birdhouses, and your characters are talking. And if your audio levels are set to where you can even hear the dialogue while you're running, which hopefully they are, because sometimes even with my audio adjusted, it's hard to hear.
Yeah, you play without subtitles. If you have subtitles on, then you can read them.
That's true. You can just read them. But I don't have subtitles because I'm capturing my gameplay footage for all of you guys. Anyway, they do this dialogue between characters. Like Barret talks about how life was simpler back in Midgar.
Life was a hell of a lot simpler back in old Midgar. We were good, Shinra was bad, and if we took him out, the world would be all right.
So what's changed?
Not a damn thing. Shinra's still going down. But coming back here, I see how I got tunnel vision. And not because Shinra was all I had to think about. It's because I didn't want to think about anything.
He actually also has some interesting lines like,
saving the planet's important, but I put a lot of personal stuff on the back burner, and I shouldn't have. Dying and the others helped give me that clarity. Just wish I could have got it sooner.
And he also talks about how he's a better father to Marlene because of Tifa.
I expect you'll find this hard to believe, but I've actually changed quite a bit since my younger days. Thanks to Tifa mostly. She really set me straight, especially as a parent. Wouldn't be half the father I am today without her.
And how other members of Avalanche helped him. And he also says that, he says the quote, "They came into my life for a reason. Like you did, Cloud. Junior, too." I know it in my heart.
I couldn't have done it without them. They came into my life for a reason. Like you did, Cloud. Junior, too. I know it in my heart.
Which, I love all of that, except, did he just put the bird in that line?
Yeah, he did.
Junior, too.
That Cloud Junior, that random bird that we've known for 5 seconds was given equal weight of, like, importance in that statement? Like, or is there somebody else that's, like, named Junior that I'm just forgetting?
No, it's totally Cloud Jr.
That's so stupid.
It's so dumb. But that's
oh my gosh.
That's why he was so adamant about saving this bird. He was like, we gotta do this for these children. I'm kidding.
It's so
But it's written so, yeah, it's written so bad.
It's so shoehorned. It's like, no one cares. I mean, yes, the bird is cute. That's where it ends.
Yeah, it's like the bird is written as this like conduit in which we can kind of like have this backstory with Barret, because I like learning about all the stuff that he's kind of, gone through.
Yeah, me too.
It's so funny because I don't have as big of a problem with the side quest as you.
You should.
it's dumb, but most side quests in JRPGs are dumb. It's dumb and it's done poorly, but I still like the idea that Barret has just kind of had this traumatic moment with dying, and now he has an opportunity to kind of try to make amends with the town that he's kind of abandoned. He even talks about going to Midgar. He talks about how he's like, I could have done things differently. The problem that I have with this is I know I'm the resident Tifa hater, and the more...
You have Tifa behind you on your screen.
Well, I know, because it's chapter 9. We'd learn about that. But like, okay, here's my issue with this. I'm not trying to be a part of the shipping wars. I played footsie with those guys a couple episodes ago, and I didn't realize how deep,
like how intense they are.
The shipping wars went in this game.
For those who don't know, shipping, it's like
relationship.
It's people who they're like kind of obsessed with a relationship either between Cloud and Tifa or Cloud and Aerith, and you basically take a side. Or Cloud and Barret.
Cloud and Barret, Cloud and Sephiroth, Yuffie and Cloud.
But the main two are Cloud and Aerith versus Cloud and Tifa.
Here I was thinking it was about like shipping container.
Shipping like a package or something.
Yeah.
No, when you hear about shipping, it's intense out there. There are some creators of content for Final Fantasy and even the developers themselves who have decided that they will no longer even associate with people who are part of these shipper groups because they get so intense. And so we probably have some that are following us.
We do, because I saw a comment insinuating that if you even talk about these things in a certain manner, you're contributing to the toxicity of this
it's
thing.
Right.
And it's like, no, the people being toxic are the ones contributing to the toxicity of this thing. Other people can discuss whatever they want.
And this is my whole point. The reason I preface this, and there's someone in our comments who's named the reasonable Clareth.
Yeah.
And he is actually reasonable. It's so fitting.
But that's the Cloud and Aerith relationship.
And he has a cool British accent.
Anyway, but he's a great guy. So some people mean well, and it's okay for people to have these fun fan theories and preferences of but this is not my point. I'm not planting my flag anywhere. I mean, everyone knows that I think Aerith and Cloud is like a better, more dynamic relationship. My problem was like, there's so many people on the internet that love Tifa, and I feel like they attribute more to her character than what's portrayed in the games. Okay. And this is a moment to this, right?
Gotcha.
Because Barrett's talking about how Tifa kind of had him like shape up and get his act together, like Jelly was saying. But Barret says, thanks to Tifa mostly, she really set me straight.
She really set me straight, especially as a parent. Wouldn't be half the father I am today without her.
That's so. What'd she do?
Oh, got fed up with my bullshit and tore me a new one. Started yelling about how a kid like Marlene needed a proper roof over her head, somewhere safe and clean.
When have you ever seen Tifa
yell,
get fed up with anyone's bullshit, and tear someone a new one?
Got fed up with my bullshit and tore me a new one.
That never happens. Tifa is written so differently, and everyone's like, she's such a strong, independent woman. She started her own business.
She's shy.
Yeah, she's shy. She's like this kind of timid, and these are good qualities about her, by the way. Like, she's this timid, shy person, but then there's so many attributes that people attribute to her being this like self-made woman who like pulled herself up by her bootstraps and did all this stuff. And then they're like, she's a better fit for Cloud because she does all these things. I'm like, yeah, this person doesn't exist. Like, we don't see this. We just hear about it, or people write about it in books and stuff. And it's like,
yeah, I was going to say there's some books that allude to some of that.
Yeah, but if you're not going to show that to me in the main games.
But it's not part of these main games, so people don't see it.
Every time I see Tifa, and this kind of goes into what we're going to get to later in this chapter, because Cloud and Tifa have a big conversation that's like really impactful. And Cloud and Tifa have not been communicating well this entire game, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's okay. Forget it.
Was this another test?
No, it wasn't. Why deny it? I guess it was, huh? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I wish Tifa would tear Cloud a new one for what happens later on in this game. But she doesn't. She's this timid, shy person. And I know that there's this arc that she's maybe going to come out of her shell in the third game. And I hope she does.
And there's pieces of it along the way where little moments where she decides to take a more confident route instead of a shy route. And you see that.
Yeah, it's because she's learning, right? Like, we're still at the part where she's figuring this out.
Right.
But Spencer's saying that
people attribute that she's already this person. And we get glimpses saying that she is this tough, like, hard knocks woman.
That the arc has already happened.
And I'm like, no, that's not true. So
I'm wondering how much of that is just people's, like, if they're fans of the franchise and they've been playing since the original 7, like, in their mind, the story has played out.
Right.
And this is a retelling.
So they're like already attributing those things.
Yeah.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
And we're still like telling the story right now.
I seem like I'm being like the number one, Clareth shipper again. I'm sorry.
Now we're going to get the hate messages again.
I don't mean to be that, but it just drives me crazy. So anyway, that made me laugh because I'm like, that is not her, but good for her, I guess, helping Barret be a father.
Yeah, I guess I would say, like, I think all your points are totally valid. I think that Tifa's way of tearing Barret a new one is probably just her having like a stern conversation with him and making some really strong suggestions and trying to help in like her kind of calmer way.
Saying a few vague statements that don't make sense and he just has to interpret them.
You know how like
No.
if your mom just gives you a stern look, you tell your friends that your mom
Sure,
yelled at you.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like maybe it's just like an interpretation thing.
I don't know.
But yeah, it does feel a little weird if you don't know.
She got fed up with my bullshit and tore me a new one. That's an exact quote. I don't mean to keep swearing, but that's literally, that Tifa doesn't exist.
Okay.
Anyway.
No, I think it's valid. I do.
But then the reason I like the side quest is because it gives you an opportunity to kind of learn about Barret's past.
That part is good.
Yeah, the side banter is probably more important than the dumb mission that you're
Right.
going on. That's a lot of this game. You're going on ridiculous
Right.
missions to do stupid things for random people.
And the characters talk.
And then they have these like moments where the character building happens.
Those are, I think, the highlights.
I agree with you.
Although some of the dialogue conversations and future side quests we're going to talk about in this discussion are not effective.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, it's even more pointless. But yeah, this one I think does that well. And that's probably the best part. That and the bomb blowing up Cloud and then him just standing up like nothing happened. So once we beat the bomb, we head back to North Corel where the fake kids are excited that Cloud Jr. has come back.
Hey, mister, he's back! Cloud Jr. came back!
And they thank us as Cloud Jr. then lands on Cloud Sr.'s shoulder once more. And we have one of those like, oh, look at their hair kind of moments. And then there's an interesting dialogue exchange between Cloud and Barret.
Hope I can bring Marlene back here one day. Tell her about her home and everything else.
And Cloud responds like I would respond.
Yeah.
You sure that's a good idea?
I owe it to her father.
You'll feel better, maybe, but how do you think she'll feel? Don't know, man.
And then it's just kind of left there.
Yeah, it is interesting. That was good.
It's kind of interesting because it brings me back to that moment in like after the dumb Buggy shooter game.
Long past time my little girl knew the truth.
Then we in the discussion were like, she's 4 years old. Probably not the best timing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the third installment with Marlene and North Corel and talking about her father and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it can be that depressing ending that Ernest is expecting. Like Barret takes Marlene to North Corel and gives her PTSD for the rest of her life. That she ends up like taking on, I don't know, she takes on her biological father's revenge campaign.
Marlene gets a gun arm.
Right? She gets a gun arm.
You gotta do it.
2 of them.
Oh, that's funny. But see what I mean? Like, this is like a Barret moment where he gets to go and kind of make amends or whatever to the North Corel people. It's dumb, but I like the dynamic where the kids don't talk to him at first, right?
Mommy said I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Oh, is that so?
But they still don't at the end.
They do talk to him.
No, okay, so
They do.
They talk to him, but they tell Barret that their parents still say they're supposed to stay away from him.
Right, but then they say...
And Barret is like understanding about that.
My dad says we're supposed to stay away from you. Sorry.
That's so. Well, don't want to get you in trouble.
I understand, but don't they say like, hey, mister, did they like thank him at the end? It's very subtle.
Thank you so much.
Hey, just doing a job.
Yeah, but it still feels like to me that potential happy ending of the children like deciding they're going to kind of talk to Barret despite what their parents say doesn't happen.
I feel like it does. I feel like it's just a little subtle thing.
Maybe I just missed it.
Thanks again for all your help, mister.
Don't mention it.
But even if it did, remember, this is a stupid bird that flew away, and it's not a big deal, and it wouldn't do that. So
I know,
it's like
it's the dumb side quest, but it's all a conduit for him to be able to have like that little moment of like, you don't trust me, your parents can't talk to me, talk to this guy, Cloud, right? This old guy, they have
Which
a funny
I think
joke.
that idea is so good and so interesting.
But I swear in the end they do.
And the
They're like
execution, blue chunks of monkey.
Yeah, but
like it's not good execution. Because it's like, no, it's the bird.
Right, but at the end,
but they fly back.
I know, but then at the end, they're like talking to Cloud. We can't talk to you, but you can say they're more warm towards Barret because of the thing that he did.
But did you? walk around the town and see what happens after this side quest as a result? Okay, so it gets even better.
Okay, I didn't notice.
Okay, so if you complete this side quest, this is actually not the scene where the side quest is complete and the kids go running off happy that they have Mr. Birdie back. That's not the last relevant scene that you can see regarding this quest. So if you walk around North Corel, after completing the quest, Cloud Jr. and his mom, which is that duck-billed flying bird thing, right? They actually follow you around wherever you go in the town.
Oh, okay.
Did you notice this?
I didn't know that. No, I didn't.
And I actually don't know if that's supposed to be for like fun or like as a thank you memory or something, or if we're supposed to do something else with them.
It's because Barret said it changed him, even Cloud Jr.
Yeah.
Junior, too.
But that's what, okay, this is the part that like really was the icing on the annoying cake for me. So things go even further. So if you walk to the area in front of the bar, remember the bar where people are fighting and you can play the piano, Barret's theme? Yeah, if you walk to the bar, you'll find a lady. And okay, do you remember the mean guy who poured his drink all over Barret's head?
At the beginning when you first
get Yeah, the guy who's just like smacks him on the face and just totally vitriol, hatred kind of stuff for Barret, right? That guy is now standing in front of the bar with this lady, and sitting on the ground in front of them at their feet are a bunch of like thug-looking dudes who are tied up. Like they have their hands tied up behind their back or something like that.
A bunch of kid G's all tied up.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It might as well be,
kidding,
honestly. But if you talk to these two people, so the guy who poured the drink and the lady, then they actually apologize to us for how they treated Barret, mainly because they saw the light after we helped the kids find their stupid bird.
I know it can't have been easy seeing the way we talked to him. And still, you went and helped the youngins. Made us realize how foolish we'd been acting.
That's what I'm talking about. This rules.
This doesn't work. It's so dumb. It's so shoehorned and forced. Like, it doesn't earn it at all.
So they're like saying this was a huge change.
They're like apologizing, you know? So we're supposed to believe that this guy...
The parents were like secretly hiding and like watching. Let's see what he does. We won't let the kids talk to him, but turns out he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, that's like what they want you to... So we're supposed to believe that this guy who had such an extreme hatred, who was such a jerk to Barret, the moment he steps foot in North Corel for the first time, who has held on to resentment for years.
Right.
Years.
For messing up his whole economic status. Yeah.
Just let all that hatred go. Let it all go. Because we helped some kids find some bird that probably wasn't even missing. So, I mean, who knows? Too bad Dine didn't have a bird that we could have helped him find before he died. It would have made everything better. Dine would be alive today. He just needed a bird in his life that we could find. It's so stupid. I hate it.
Ernest, this is the nuance that you're missing out on by not playing these quests.
This is more like, you know, challenging the preconceived notions around Barret and what he did. And more specifically, it's like, there's all this word of mouth and there's all this history, like you've been talking about in the negative, the bad blood, but actions speak louder than words, right? And so the action of going to find that bird.
Yeah, they're trying to say that.
Is what is redefining the relationship of Barret and this town.
Yes, that's what they're going for. What I am saying is that is not enough to find a dumb bird. It's not going to erase all these years of resentment. So
It's not believable.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. They're going for that theme, which that theme is so nice. And that theme is so lovely. And the theme makes sense. The execution blows.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. I don't buy it at all that this guy, you saw the hatred in that guy. He pours his drink out when they can't even afford to buy alcohol. Like he pours it on his head.
Go get more.
The hell I did. Get it yourself.
With what money, you shit for brains?
And now he's like, you know what? I saw how you treated those kids when they were missing their bird. That's a bird and flies where birds fly. But you worried about that bird. And now I realize that I shouldn't blame you for an entire town burning to the ground. Like, what the heck?
And
it doesn't work.
And they put so much time and effort into it. The fact that you can go to the bar and that there's this stuff that's not in a cutscene, you know, that it's just world building, storytelling. It's like, hey, the guy that poured the drink on me is like forgiving of me. They put time and effort to really make this a change.
They made it that guy.
But it's like, you're right. They whiff pretty hard on the execution, right?
It doesn't work.
It could have been something so much more impactful rather than using Cloud Jr. again to go find him. I get it.
I'm a cynic more than Ernest is.
They blew the emotional budget on the dying scene. Is what happened.
Sure.
Right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Dine stuff is great.
Yeah.
Like the stuff surrounding Dine. This aftermath stuff with Mr. Birdie.
Mr. Birdie.
Not on the same level.
All right. You've convinced me.
That's why it got put as a side quest and not mainline
That's
stuff.
why it's a side quest. There you go, right? Yeah, we're not really supposed to take these all that seriously anyway. So, I'm just having fun with this. But so these two adults, they realize how foolish they've been acting. Now they're focused on the future of North Corel. So that's why the people are tied up on the ground, apparently.
I'm sure you noticed that some boys from the prison set up shop in town. We turned a blind eye to them at first, but...
No longer. It's high time they learned what happens when folks try to take advantage of us.
You're welcome to watch their education in the bar if you want.
And if you enter the bar, you can see other thugs like on the floor begging for mercy after being like punched out or whatever.
I'm sorry. Look down on us, will ya?
So I guess the idea is that helping the kids find their bird softened the hearts of the townspeople and gave them the resolve at the same time that they needed to take control of the town and punish criminals in order to usher in a new era for North Corel. Thank you, Mr. Birdie.
Way to go, Birdie.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie.
Perfect side quest.
He will be the first mayor.
Okay, Queen's Blood. Let's move to Queen's Blood really quick. So I think that the Birdie side quest is the only side quest you can do in Corel itself at this point, but there is some interesting Queen's Blood stuff that you can do here at this point. We mentioned this person in a previous episode, but there's a guy you can play in Queen's Blood here in North Corel who is like this shirtless, elderly man. He has like a lot of torso wrinkles. He looks pretty cool. He's hovering. All right, he's sitting on the ground.
Like cross-legged.
Because every Queen's Blood player is over the top in a funny way. Like I actually really enjoy how they change the different Queen's Blood players, background, and they just make them over the top. So he's like hovering in this meditation pose like a snake charmer or something. His name is
Navalan of the Thousand Eyes. Years of meditation have granted me sight beyond sight. It is this clarity which shows me all, even that which some wish to keep hidden. You exude a powerful yet troubled aura.
And if you've been playing all the Queen's Blood you can up to this point, you should be the rank you need in order to take him on in Chapter 9. So who has played Navalan?
I've played him, but
you're on hard mode with all the cards.
Yeah, I beat the game first, and then when you do on hard mode, you can just buy all the great cards.
Yeah.
But I didn't do the Queen's Blood stuff until the hard mode second playthrough.
But did you play him anyway, even though it wasn't the same? It was a way easier game for you?
Yes, I've played all the people up until this point.
Okay, so you know what happens like if you play him.
Yeah, but my deck is stacked, and I'm just like crushing.
Yeah, you're just like playing like the best cards that you don't get till the end of the game. Ernest, do you remember if you played Navalan?
I did not play him because, again, this is part where I like kind of ran through.
Gotcha. Same story as the side quest stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I played him as well, and we were both level 5 players, I think. It was a pretty uneventful match for me. I think on my first try, I played a card, and then I restarted the game because I mulliganed the wrong cards or something. But then I won my second try 9-5, and then I decided to play him again just for fun, and I beat him 27-0. So he's not like terribly difficult. But the thing that makes Navalan significant is that once you beat him, it unlocks another ominous flash type. English is hard.
Is it a flashback or is it like a different dimension? I don't understand these.
It's like a vision.
Yeah.
I say it's a flashback because
these have already happened, these events, right? He's the creator of Queen's Blood.
Yeah, because he's the creator from like the past, right? So it's kind of like a flashback type vision, I guess. And it's showing like a similar setting as the brief vision we saw back in Junon.
This is wrong. This is all wrong. I don't understand. It was just supposed to be a game.
Now, basically, this vision opens up with a man, the creator, sitting at a table, and he's in like a very dark room. There's like flame torches behind him, and there's like purple magic dust floating around, which we've all learned that purple magic dust typically represents dark magic of some kind because you can't just animate like black magic dust that doesn't look as cool.
Because if it was green, you'd turn into the Cactuar pose.
Right. It's funny though, like different color magic dust like means different things. It's true.
Yes, heed the voice of experience.
So purple magic dust, so we know there's something nefarious going on here in this vision. And then there's also like spooky drone sound effects and music in the backgrounds. It's very ominous. So this man that we see in the vision introduces himself as
Latrell Balmont, and I am the creator of the game Queen's Blood, which means that this nightmare is of my own making.
And there's some woman calling and commanding him who has made him her prisoner.
You hear her too. Time's running out.
Then he ends by saying,
The end is nigh. Or perhaps this is only the beginning. The Shadow Blood Queen is...
But then the vision goes static, and we're done with it before we hear the rest of the sentence. Now, when the vision is over, Navalan intuits what we just saw.
You have dreamt the dream of Latrell Balmont too.
And we ask Navalan what he knows about such a vision, and he basically tells us,
Players of particular skill have experienced strange visions of late.
And that some of the world's best players have even met unnaturally violent deaths.
Some of the world's very best have recently met with unnaturally violent deaths. People are calling this the Curse of Latrell.
Which is kind of spooky, kind of fun, right? He then warns us to be cautious if we plan to keep playing Queen's Blood because he senses a great evil festering within the cards of this game. So this is the point where...
This is too good.
Ernest, you're like into it and you haven't even seen the vision. I love it.
Yeah, because I used to play Magic the Gathering a lot.
Do they have a Shadow Blood Queen?
No, but like it's a long running joke that there's like evil in the cards because it causes people to spend obscene amounts of money on what is fundamentally paper, pulp, and ink on it, right?
They just released all the Final Fantasy collaborations like 3 days ago.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the Tifa card.
They just did. And I tried to get the Commander decks and they sold out like before I could even get one.
Oh, wait, you tried to get the Final Fantasy ones?
Yeah, because
That's awesome.
I will eventually return to that game at some point. But anyway, the point is like it's funny because it's kind of like a meta critique of collectible trading card games in general, all rolled into that vision you're talking about.
Yeah.
I love that Magic the Gathering is evil because it makes everybody spend all their money on paper.
She's made me her prisoner. Her cursed card, my shackle.
So we find out here that like the Shadow Blood Queen is this mysterious like evil puppet master. We kind of get that sense before, I think. And she's causing this game creator guy named Latrell this fear and this anguish, but we really don't know more than that aside from it's somehow linked to these violent deaths of some of the greatest players. And I think that the whole side story of the Shadow Blood Queen is pretty interesting and cool. Later, as we go into other chapters, I think they could have done more with it, I'll be honest, but I still like it because it gives us a reason to keep playing Queen's Blood in order to see how this Shadow Blood Queen story plays out. And by the developers giving us like a little bit more clarity with each vision along the way, along with giving us more mystery, right? It helps keep us tuned in. And then they've even raised the stakes because they're inferring that if we keep playing and we get really good, we too are at risk of some violent death, right? Which, of course, makes us want to keep playing more Queen's Blood. So I think that the story that they're weaving in here is really fun.
Yeah.
It's the introduction to the alternate universe Dark Aerith character is what this is.
The Dark Aerith character. Although...
Your Ever Crisis.
There is a Dark Aerith in Ever Crisis right now in their event. They have this, like... I don't know. They're not my thing, these, like, events.
The high school.
They do, like, this event where they're all in high school and Aerith is, like, the bad kid. She's
the bad girl.
Oh, so it's like a Persona crossover type thing?
Yeah.
She, like, wears, like, a COVID mask with, like, angry teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah, people love that stuff. I just laugh at it. I'm like, whatever. But I play Ever Crisis, so you could laugh at me.
Is that a mobile game or?
Yeah, it's a mobile game. You wouldn't play it.
That's the mobile game we talk about.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't do mobile games.
As far as Queen's Blood, I think it's great. I like beating all the main Queen's Blood players in an area because there's usually like the captain of the Queen's Blood players. You can't play them until you beat all the other ones. And then once you...
Right, and I think Navalan is a captain.
He is, yeah. I don't know if it's called a captain, but the main,
The guy who triggers the visions.
Right. So it's always fun. It's always something to look forward to. And the visions are ridiculous, but, they're setting up this like horror film where something terrible is happening to him because he created this game and something really dark and ominous is on the horizon. So yeah, I'm having a good time with it. It is just enough motivation for me to always want to keep finding those people in each new town so I can see the next vision.
And you haven't actually seen the following ones, right? Even though you beat the game.
No.
So this is the latest vision that you've seen.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Okay, cool. So we'll be able to see your reaction as we go along.
Yeah.
Not knowing how it ends. Cool. So speaking of Queen's Blood, if you go back to Wonderment Square at the Gold Saucer, there's a bunch of new Queen's Blood challenges that have opened up. And they're worth mentioning even if we don't go into them in detail, because they do take some time to do. So first, there's a challenge called the Support Card Chadley the Callous Challenge, which says it's level 5, and it's similar to a normal match, only it's with the Chadley card. And the Chadley card allows you to replace any allied card and then raise the power of all allied cards on the 4 corner spots, which is a pretty good card, right? Anyway, that challenge took me 2 tries. So then second, there's the Gimmick Battlefield Challenge. It's called Ifrit's 32-Bit Flames. It's also level 5, and it starts off with like a polygonal Ifrit card in the middle of the board that enhances any card surrounding it by +2. So you basically fight for those enhanced squares and try to win. Well, I won that one on my first try with a score of 31-0, so also not very hard. And then there's this challenge called Boot Camp, and I don't know about our viewers and listeners out there, this one was significantly harder for me, at least at this stage in the game. So it says it's level 5, but it felt way more challenging than all the other level 5 challenges and matches so far. So this challenge is like a 3-round match, and it does have some unique elements to each round where you try to get as many points as possible across all 3 rounds, right? And then whether you get bronze, silver, or gold depends on the amount of points that you accumulate when compared to the opponent's points. Does that make sense? And I gave this 5 tries, and I couldn't even get bronze. Like, I sucked, apparently. And I ended up giving up and, like, revisiting this challenge in the future after I've had more practice on a few better cards. So if there's any optimism in my poor boot camp performance, it's that I'm clearly not at risk of whatever this Ladrell curse is at this point in the game.
You'll be safe.
There's no killing me, because that was hard.
Which means that this nightmare is of my own making.
You can also go over to Costa del Sol and finish up whatever card carnival challenges you may have skipped.
Yeah.
Which I finished up, I think, the last one there. But let's go into Costa del Sol officially, because there are new side quests you can pick up at the community board. And one of them I really enjoyed.
Anime Beach episode. We're back.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
I'm kidding.
Yes.
Hang loose.
So one I enjoyed. The other one I may have hated more than missing Mr. Birdie.
This one is worse. I know what you're talking about.
It's bad. Okay. It's Anime. Okay, we're back to Anime Beach episode. Like Spencer said, this side quest is called, let's start with the one I hated, and then we'll end on a happier note. This side quest is called Rendezvous in Costa del Sol, and it's starring none other than those beach girls who fawned all over Hojo back in Chapter 6, which is already off to a bad start for me, because you'll probably remember how irritated I was at the shallowness of these stupid girls, right? They're gorgeous in terms of character design, no doubt.
Yeah.
But, like, they're so superficial in motivation and character, but, I mean, whatever. It's not meant to be taken super seriously, but...
Or is it?
To my utter luck, we get to hang out with them again. Yay! What, Ernest?
I said, or is it?
What to what?
Or is it social commentary?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's probably social commentary. There are definitely girls like this.
You talked about it last time where, like, fawning over the powerful Shinra executive.
No, that's like a thing. I'll admit, what I'm saying is, like, even though that's like a thing, that's not a thing I relate to. So, like, these girls, I was growing up playing with Ninja Turtles and doing sports. Like, I'm not a fashionista. I know, it's hard to know that I'm not a fashionista.
Nice, you like pose.
Anyway, whatever. Okay. So we meet up with these 3 girls who introduce themselves as...
I'm Fran. And I'm Naomi.
Name's Yorda.
Not to be confused with Yoda. And I don't think anybody would confuse that.
But good job,
I'm so hilarious.
Yoda.
Anyway, they're down on the beach. And they're down on the beach where we fought the grass tripod not too long ago.
Yep.
And in fact, the girls immediately recognize us as having fought with Hojo. And if you ask them about Hojo, which is the first thing I asked them about once a dialogue option popped up.
Yeah, let's you.
Yeah, because I wanted them to explain why they were fawning all over that creepy grossness. I was
Exactly.
like, what's the deal? Like,
You need to explain yourself, young lady.
explain yourself, right, Ernest? Yeah.
We were just doing the mayor a favor. That's all.
And if we're being honest, we figured it couldn't hurt to butter up a company bigwig. We got a business to run.
But I don't like these girls. Anyway, whatever. Run your business, you skanky, superficial pieces of whatever. Okay, apparently these girls, they're fashion designers, like me, which is probably...
She's not.
And me. I mean, I wear the same color shirt every day, so
I know, right? We're all fashion designers.
I'm ahead of the curve.
You are, Ernest. You really are.
And I'm bringing back wind pants, by the way, like the 90s.
But you're sporting the brand. That's good. Look at
That's
you.
right.
You both are
Look at
sporting
that.
it.
Our merch.
Woohoo!
I just like it.
I know. Now my Final Fantasy Files shirts have like baby spit up all over them.
That's the way it is. Yep.
That's the way it goes, right? When you're a parent. So these girls, who've clearly not had babies, by the way, they're fashion designers. And that's honestly probably a better field for them than like quantum computational engineering.
That was social commentary right there. Man, wow.
I know. Sorry, it's true. So they ask us if, you guys, this quest is so dumb.
It is really dumb.
They ask if they can hire Cloud and Aerith to go on a date.
Oh.
We want to see a real couple on a date for inspiration.
For their next line of sexy clothing. I didn't even ask. Did you guys do this quest?
Yes,
You
I did it.
Spencer. Ernest, did you?
I did not.
You didn't do it. Okay, same
No.
boat as the other ones. Okay. So I'm explaining this to you then so you know what's going on. They want Aerith and Cloud to go on a date so they can watch and find inspiration for their next line of sexy clothing.
That's
Isn't this great?
amazing.
And they have to present it soon. So they're like, we're desperate. Can you please go on a date?
Right. They have like a really soon
tight
deadline,
deadline.
right? Yeah. So you know what I'm going to say. This is so stupid. It's like on the stupid chart.
It's so dumb.
I fail to see how the two connect, but I'm sure the quest told us, right?
Are you sure? I'm not
I
sure
don't know.
at all.
They don't.
That's what they say. They just get inspiration from like watching us on a date. And I just think it's so stupid. It's on the stupid chart with the whole Costa del Amor.
Find love at Costa del Amor.
You remember
Yes,
that?
I knew you were going to say
Dating
this
kids?
because it's the same complaints you have.
It's the same thing. Remember how I went on like that whole rant about how much I hated Costa del Amor? This is Costa del Amor part 2.
The exact same minigame.
Same thing.
I felt like that Coastal Del Amor thing was a setup to get us with the whole Barret and Cloud thing so that we would laugh about it.
Sure, to have that funny joke of like, we're going on a date together. Yeah.
It's a special event for meeting new people. But looks like you and me got paired up.
Wait, what?
That's what I felt was
Right.
it was, but this time I don't know. I don't know what the point is.
Yes, I'm gonna let me interject for a second too, because the setup is super dumb. Because throughout this game, you know, they're trying to build relationship between the relationship points or whatever, and this is one that Cloud and Aerith go on together, right?
Right.
And it's super forced and super dumb, and it's funny because Cloud's treating it like a job.
This is one of the stranger jobs you've accepted.
Still a job. I'll take the lead.
And Aerith is kind of saying like, I'm treating it like a date.
I'll make this date our best yet.
We could just keep it simple.
And they go on this stupid thing together. You do Pirates Rampage again. You do Run Wild again.
Yes!
Which is hilarious because it's so contrived. There's no point in them doing this over again just so Cloud and Aerith can be on a date. You know, it bugs me out because they're my...
Because you want it to,
You want it to be
them
good.
to go on a date that's actually got some substance, right? So
Right,
like,
and there's nothing there.
but there's nothing.
Is this the same every single time, or is it influenced by who you went on a date with prior in the Gold Saucer?
No, it's always Aerith.
I think this one's
It's always
always
Aerith.
Aerith.
Okay.
This is a relationship building quests so you can get points with Aerith.
Got it.
Yeah, there's quests like this where you go on not necessarily a date, but you do something for Tifa and then you get points for her, or you help Red.
Well, the last one, Mr. Birdie, that was a Barret quest,
you helped
right?
Barret,
so that's why it's you and Barret, and then I think you get relationship points with Barret afterwards. I don't remember or not.
Right.
But yeah, so even if you're willing to like go out on a limb and believe that watching Aerith and Cloud on a date will inspire you to design sexy clothes.
This dating sim stuff is just on another level.
This isn't even like dating sim stuff. This is just
it's like
contrived dating sim stuff that makes
I swear they just want people to play those mini games again so they're not wasted because they spend so much time on them. So they're like, let's do it in another side quest, right? Because like if they really want this to be about Cloud and Aerith going on a date and like inspiring people, then you would think like, okay, romantic dinner on the maybe dancing on the beach under a starlit sky or something like that.
Yeah, where they do something together.
Yeah, or like something that gives like inspiration.
A giant chocobo paddle boat right there on the water.
That would be better, honestly.
The whole premise is flawed from the start, so it doesn't work ever, right?
Right.
The fact that they're going to be watching them for this.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the point? What's the delivery here?
Because, like you said, it's Pirates Rampage, Run Wild, and digging in the sand after fighting monsters. That's what you do on this date.
A date?
So first you go to Pirates Rampage, where your stalker girl is Fran. So basically you go to these 3 locations they tell you to go to, and there's a stalker girl there.
By stalker girl, she means the person who's watching for inspiration.
Yeah. The fashion designers.
That is kind of creepy, though. Like,
right.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, she's the blonde one, too. Fran is the blonde one, if you want to remember her. And the date is Cloud playing a slightly altered version of the pirate shooter game while Aerith watches.
Do well, and you might just land a bullseye on her heart.
Which, by the way, that seems to be how dates just pan out everywhere on this planet. Like, one person plays games while the other one watches, which sounds like a pretty crappy date to me.
Hey, watch me do this.
Like, I'd be like, no, I want to play too, right? Yeah. So anyway, you play Pirates Rampage as Cloud. There is one slight mechanic adjustment. This time, shooting accuracy comes into play. So the final score is like points multiplied by accuracy. So you don't want to just keep shooting.
You can't just unload,
Yeah, you have to shoot specifically or else. Now, I was in such a rush to get this side quest over with that I did not pay attention to the obvious tutorial that informs us of accuracy. And so, like, I bombed it on the first 2 attempts. I got, like, half the score needed because I was just shooting, right? I was unloading, like you said. Then on the 3rd try, I finally figured it out, and I got a score of, like, 14,000 points, which was enough to progress to the next part of the quest, thankfully, which I did. And once Cloud finishes this pirate shooter game, Stalker Fran gushes about how Aerith never took her eyes off her man.
Yeah.
She never once took her eyes off her man. And the way she stared at him.
Which gets her creative juices flowing for some reason. And then she sends us off to the next date, which is at Run Wild.
Yep.
So
it's awful.
So many things wrong. Do I need to spell them out? I think it's obvious.
It's so bad.
So then you go to Run Wild, like Spencer said, and Naomi is the stalker girl waiting for us there. And she's the girl who I think has the coolest visual design of all 3.
Yeah, I think she's the coolest looking.
She looks way cool, right? But this is also the dumbest date ever because if you remember...
You can't participate. Isn't it like for dogs only?
Right.
Yes, but this was a date in Costa del Amor too.
I mean, it's the perfect spot for a date.
And we were like, this is so stupid, but apparently it was so stupid that they made it another date. Like, it doesn't make... It's just like, what is happening here? Like, who... Do these developers not go on dates? Like, is that just, like, not a thing? Like, you don't... Are you all single?
That might be more true than we realize.
Developers, are you all single? Maybe you are. I don't know.
Hey, let's not shame these developers with their relationship status, all right?
I know, we actually really love what you put out here, but this is not part of what I love.
It's only the hottest sport in town.
So, Run Wild, obviously this Rocket League-style soccer game you can only play as an animal. And Aerith, she starts to do, like, athletic stretching.
Which is like, this is fun Aerith character. She's a goof, and it's, like, fun.
And she's like, all right, wish me luck. Like, she's going to jump in and play the game.
You do know this is for animals, right? Not people?
People are technically animals too, right? So it's cool.
Wrong! Not cool.
Naomi stops her and says she can't compete. And I wish she could have. I think that would have been better.
Like, no.
But it still wouldn't have been a date. That's the thing. Like, it still wouldn't have been a date because then Cloud would have been watching Aerith play. So it's like, it's so incoherent. It doesn't make any sense. Whatever.
It's shoehorned in so hard.
It's the perfect spot for a date.
Then Red shows up out of the blue to play this game conveniently, just like Aerith showed up conveniently with Kid G in the Cactuar challenge, whatever. So it forces Aerith to be a cheerleader.
Give me an R, give me an E, give me a D!
And this version of the Run Wild game also has slightly different mechanics. So instead of playing against a bunch of other like random animals and seeing who can knock as many of the right colored balls into the right nets, this version is a time trial. So, and it's just red on the field. And you have to knock at least 8 balls into the right goals in 3.5 minutes or less. And there are obstacles that are blocking a lot of those goals. And I bombed my first try. I'm not good at these games, you guys, these mini games, clearly. It took me almost 5 minutes to hit all the 8 balls in. On my second try, I did well enough to meet the rank 1 goal and move on. But then, like, my footage recording shows me trying a third time for some odd reason and suddenly being dramatically better than my other 2 tries. And I got the top rank, and I'm pretty sure I gave the controller over to Spencer and was like,
I remember playing that.
You try this. Yeah, because I don't think I would have done this game again voluntarily, and I don't think I would have suddenly increased my skill that high, you know? Whatever. So once we finished the game, Stalker Naomi, she's like excited.
Their dog is the glue that binds their relationship. And watching their little guy give it his all out there only served to strengthen their bond.
And I'm just like, shoot me in the face. Like, so annoying.
I'm such a genius.
Apparently, it's Aerith and Cloud watching Red. No, it's watching Aerith and Cloud watching Red that gives Naomi the inspiration she needs, and she runs off to design her sexy clothes.
I need to get back to the shop, like, yesterday.
It's all so dumb.
I hate it so much.
Maybe I shouldn't go back and do all these things. Second thought, because this is sounding like a waste of time.
There's a good side quest coming. Let me just clarify too. Like, if I felt like this whole thing was a big joke and I was like in on the joke, then it would probably actually work for me better. Like, if there was a tone of this is all so stupid and we're making it stupid on purpose, taking it further over the top, maybe that's what the developers are trying to do, but I don't think they did it well enough because it doesn't mock itself enough. Like, the execution, there's just a little too much feeling of the developers taking this just seriously enough to make it cringy instead of funny.
Right.
Or maybe I'm just biased because there's no comedic redemption for these girls in my eyes. Like, maybe I just want to see them eaten by a dinosaur like in Jurassic Park.
Sure.
Like, I don't know.
But to me, it's like, if you juxtapose this one with the Mr. Birdie one, it's like you can tell that their attention was in the right place. It's like Barrett's making amends and doing these things for his old town. It doesn't work. It falls flat. It's about a bird who flies away or whatever. But it's like still like warm-hearted. What's the word? Like, it's like...
Well-intended?
Well-intended. Thank you.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like, we have no idea how to get Cloud and Aerith on a date. These character models that we made for Hojo and have done other things for Costa more, we need to use them again. They're going to have like a fashion party, and this gives us an opportunity for Cloud and Aerith to go on a date. And the only good things that come out of this are just character building. It's like Aerith is a goofball. Cloud is like, this is a mission. Like, we need to take it seriously, you know? And it's like, okay, but it doesn't work because the things you're doing for this side quest just feel so forced that the game falls away and you see through it and you're like, what were the developers thinking? You're not thinking about Aerith and Cloud being cute and fun or serious, you know?
It takes you out of the game because you're wondering what the heck is the intention. Like, it's just so incoherent.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous.
Junior, too.
So the final date, thank goodness it's the final date, starts when we talk to Yorda, not to be confused with Yoda.
But
I'm already confused.
Take 2. Yeah, but she's the girl with the short dark hair and the less than ideal voice performance. I hate to say.
Oh, is she bad? I don't know.
Yeah, she's not good.
I've got a great activity for you.
I just knew that she was just wearing a like bikini top. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, clearly, that's all you're into. I mean, you know.
Divorce. Just kidding. Yeah, divorce.
He does have a point.
So we meet Yorda up in front of these chocobo stables, and she tells us to go dig up some seashells.
How about you bring me the largest one you can find?
So we head to the beach part of the Corel region. We fight a bunch of barnacles. We dig up a bunch of shells, and we return them to Yorda over at the chocobo stables. And this time around, it's...
I can't help but wonder what is making her smile from ear to ear like that. Is it the shells? Or...
Ha! I've got it! Inspiration has finally struck.
And she tells us to swing by the fashion showcase back on the beach, and then she leaves. So we basically just get shells and bring them to her. The end.
Yeah.
By the way, even though this is supposed to be some like romantic date between Aerith and Cloud, the rest of our party, especially
still there.
yes, like especially during this last part, the rest of our party is just awkwardly lingering around in the distance this whole time. So like Aerith and Cloud are on a date, and if you look in the background, there's like Tifa like standing there, like and Barret and stuff.
Don't forget about me, Cloud.
It's hilarious, yeah. But one interesting thing I will say about this side quest, it's kind of the same interesting idea as the Birdie side quest, is that as we're running from location to location, Cloud and Aerith talk to each other. And it's usually Aerith kind of flirting with Cloud or teasing him in some way. But I'm going to be honest, the dialogue in this quest between the two of them, it doesn't do it for me at all.
Wait a second. Are you nervous?
About what? Easiest job I've ever had.
The Merc's nervous.
Like, it's not very good. I mean, the worst dialogue between them comes after we dig up a big shell.
If these things are all this size, I bet the suckers who live in them would make for good eating.
Wonder how they taste.
We could ask a local, but you don't strike me as the type to care all that much.
I don't. Food's food.
Uh-oh. Don't you know what happens to people who say they don't care what their food tastes like? They spontaneously combust.
You're screwing with me, right?
I guess we'll see, won't we?
I think it's supposed to be fun and flirty, but it just feels like bad dialogue. Like the localization writer for this part of the game was like low on sleep and just needed to push something out before a deadline. Like, it didn't work at all. I was like, that is bad.
There's been several times where the dialogue between these two now, again, I can't tell if it's on purpose or just the way it came off or whatever, but it's like they're on different wavelengths. They're having the same conversation, but their minds are in two different places.
Yeah, and that I think a lot of that is intentional, right? Like that's kind of the back and forth relationship that these two have.
She was a good friend. Not that I deserved one.
Just a friend? Or a girlfriend? You can be pretty dense when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Because you're right. The difference here for me is that in all the main story stuff, they think that dialogue through a lot. And they're like, we got to make sure this is really good. It's really working with the story. I feel like in these side quests, the dialogue doesn't get as much attention in like second drafts and third drafts and fourth drafts as it did in the main story. So it's like they're trying to play that same note that you're talking about, Ernest, but it didn't like land.
It didn't land.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, you can't hit them all. In something of this scale and this scope, you're going to have the stuff that just falls through the cracks, right?
Right.
Just the way it is.
Especially this like side quest dialogue like that. It's true. It's true. And there are other dialogue moments that are almost good, but they still fall flat. And it's mostly like evolving around Aerith, repeatedly being like gung-ho about being on a date and constantly ripping on Cloud for not getting into it or being oblivious or something.
Wonder what sort of design the girls are going to come up with. Hey, what kind of swimsuit would you want to see?
Me?
Yes, you. I'm curious.
Well, I prefer function over form. So, durable, maybe made with non-absorbent materials that allow for full range of motion. In case you need to fight underwater.
Okie dokie then.
You know, it's something that's funny in concept that works better in the main story dialogue, but it just doesn't play out well in execution here in this side quest. At one point, Aerith even like pokes at Cloud for not saying that he wants to stay on this date forever.
This is the part where you're supposed to blurt out, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here with you. This date's DOA otherwise.
Okay, now you're just being mean.
I'm not trying to be mean. Sorry.
Which there's not a lot of humor and fun in that. It just feels very awkward. Like, because remember, like, I actually lean toward Cloud and Aerith for chemistry over Cloud and Tifa in this second act of this 3-part game, right? And then I want more Tifa chemistry in Act 3, right? Which we'll talk about more later. So here, I want there to be this like fun flirtiness between Cloud and Aerith. And there is that fun flirtiness in other parts of the game, but I was just disappointed here. And if this quest is going to suck as bad as it does suck, like at least give us that. But they just don't really do that.
Right.
I mean, this whole side quest is supposed to be about these two on a date. And honestly, if somebody were to come in and watch only these scenes of them on this date, like in a vacuum, not seeing the rest of the story, there's no way they would ever think that Aerith and Cloud should ever be together because there's no chemistry in any of these lines. Though there was one, at least some redemption. There was one line of dialogue I did really like. So while Cloud and Aerith are running back to the beach, Aerith suggests that next time they need a chocobo, the two of them should ride double.
Yeah, that was good.
Next time we need a chocobo, I say we ride double.
Then slow down the bird?
Wait a minute.
Wow.
Which is a great response because it's so literal and like Cloud, you know?
And he's so oblivious.
So oblivious.
It's great because moments like this have happened in the Gold Saucer, and it's very similar to this moment.
There's even another moment later in this chapter where the same thing happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just totally oblivious to what's going on.
Yep.
But that's what's endearing about Cloud. It's like everyone's fawning over Cloud this whole series, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I've got a job to do. Like,
yeah, so that line, I was happy to hear a line that made me laugh. So, okay, once this horrible excuse for a date is thankfully done, we run back to the beach and there's like a little stage that's set up for our fashion showcase. And then these three shallow girls step out on stage to model their like sexy new creations that were inspired by this terrible date. And okay, while I do continuously rip on this side quest because it totally deserves it deserves to be ripped on, I'm not so ruthless as to not notice and respect that some art designer out there at Square Enix actually created 3 custom outfits based on these 3 dating locations that we went to, right? So Naomi walks out and she's in like a red outfit that's clearly modeled after our cat dog thing, Red from Run Wild, right? From the Run Wild date. Fran is in like a Pirates themed bikini, like based on Pirates Rampage.
she's wearing a pirate's hat.
She's wearing a Pirates hat, yeah.
With the rest of her bikini and stuff.
And then Yorda is in some like blue seashell style bikini that's supposedly inspired by us digging up these shells and giving them back to her, right? So the idea of like creeping on this incoherent date between chemistry-free Cloud and Aerith to inspire these outfits is still totally stupid and unnecessary to me. But hey, props to the digital costume designer for putting work into the quest's conclusion because the outfits are definitely creative. Do you remember them? And I don't know if they change depending on like how well you do in the date or whatever, if they're all the same. I don't know. But they were creative. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's why they did this.
I didn't do this quest, but the original one I did, and I liked all the little outfits they made for them. So,
oh, you made for like Tifa and Aerith?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And even Cloud's, like, you know, you could choose his
the chocobo, like
attire or whatever. Yeah,
Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
Fate is so cruel, depriving me of Tifa and beachwear.
The problem I have with this, it's like, it's totally cool. And I really like the characters. I like Fran, Naomi, and Yorda because they're this.
You do?
I love them, Joe.
Wow.
No, but I like.
So you're just digging the hole deeper.
Hey,
every 5 minutes it goes by.
It's instinctual. I can't help it.
I have to threaten divorce at least once per episode.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, in games, there's the really budget like NPCs that you see the same character model in multiple different towns over and over and over again.
They're wearing the same sack of cloth. Yeah.
They wear the same clothes or they have the same hairstyle. I see the same blonde girl in Calm and Junon and like
all the time.
You can see the same character models, but these are distinct character models. So like Yorda, Fran, and Naomi, they're custom made, you know, characters.
For these quests, for this land.
And they look really cool, and I love that in games when it's like, okay, these are unique NPCs that you get to interact with. So it's fun to see them, you know, show off, like you said, the costume designer or whoever modeled those outfits.
It's custom for this quest.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, cool.
Like, we don't see it again, and somebody put some major work into that.
Yeah, and it shows, because it feels like these are unique characters and not just more NPC slop. That's what I like about it. The thing I don't like about it is that supposedly it was the inspiration of Fran watching Cloud shoot the things, right? Or like Red 13 is the glue that bonds their relationship together.
It's so bad.
So they all quote some sort of inspiration that they saw in Aerith and Cloud.
But Aerith and Cloud didn't need to be there to inspire these outfits.
Exactly, thank you. The inspiration does not come from the couple, it comes from the location that they did. So it's like Pirates Rampage is a pirate-themed costume. Oh, Run Wild, it's like an animal-themed, bikini. Oh, the seashell thing, it's about seashells. It has nothing to do with Cloud and Aerith.
Nothing to do with Cloud and Aerith. I think that they're trying to get us to reach to the position of like believing that they're sexy clothes because they were inspired by the sexiness of the date, right? Like instead of just being like a pirate outfit.
No sexiness going on.
I think that's what they're hoping for. I don't think that works at all. Like
I was going to say, the way you're describing it, we're going to end up with 3 burlap sacks for an outfit.
They should have. That would have been more appropriate.
Yeah.
3 burlap sacks. This sounds pretty bad. So.
That'd be hilarious. That would make this quest good, is like if the outfits all sucked because the dates were lame.
I would crack up.
I would have been down for that.
This swimsuit's got perfect aim.
Side note, where was this crowd sound designer during the opening dance number at the Gold Saucer? Because here, like the small crowd is
They were cheering.
They're cheering. And it's like actually sounds like people are there. And
I thought of you.
Yeah, and there are moments where sometimes they just bomb on the crowd sound effects, but they did a good job here.
They've had good ones when they do the arena fights and like when we fought Roche.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But here on the beach, it like actually sounded like there were the number of people in the crowd that there actually were, which I appreciated.
Yep.
So then once these girls model these new outfits, then the gym rat crew that we recognize from Walmart.
They just show up.
Yeah, they just hop up on stage all of a sudden and they tell the crowd that anyone who wants a hot swimsuit body should train with them.
Then you better train with the best of the best!
So come join our gym and muscle maximize!
Which is probably a way, I guess, for the developers to like notify us, the gamer, that there's a training gym somewhere in this region and we should go find it.
I thought you were going to say notifying us to hit the gym because we sit in front of the TV all day.
Just schlubby Aerith.
Sorry. My legs are killing me.
I was like, okay.
But I think that they're just trying to tip us off that there's a gym somewhere and we should go do some gym quests there, right? Because remember back in Remake, there were the pull-ups kind of competition. So there might be something else here, right?
Oh, there's something else here.
Oh, there's something else indeed.
Woo!
In this moment, you can actually talk to gym leader Jules.
Do my eyes deceive me? Is that Cloud?
They're like, hey, Jules, like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
They say something about like the city. They're like, we're here on our annual like.
Yeah, we ask what they're doing in Costa del Sol because us, the gamer, are like, no, really, what are you doing?
Because we have a relationship. We hung out with you in Walmart.
If you've got some time to spare, how about a little bit of fun? Want to try taking on one of our guys?
You're not serious, are you? Look at him. He's a scrawny little thing. I could snap him like a twig.
Now. I wouldn't judge this one by his muscle mass.
The reason that he gives as to why they're there, do you remember the reason?
To show off the singlets?
Something like that. It says they're on their annual beach retreat.
What are you doing here?
Relaxing, really. We're on our yearly beach retreat. And commissioning this year's new singlets from these talented young women. Oh, right. That reminds me. Stop by the training facility when you have a moment. We're in need of your particular skills.
A beach retreat. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right? So this is another example, though, of carrying familiar characters from Remake into Rebirth. Even if the reason that they're there is a little convenient, you just kind of go with it. Like, okay, they're here, you know?
It's like when Andrea shows up, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about him in a minute, too, because he actually has something to do with Jules, believe it or not. So that's the end of the Rendezvous in Costa del Sol side quest, thank goodness, which that affects our relationship with Aerith somehow, although we'll never really know how because it's not explained. And now that we've addressed my 2 least favorite side quests of this chapter, I'm looking forward to expressing more positive viewpoints for much of what's coming. So anyone who just listened up to this point of this Chapter 9 discussion...
We like the game.
They probably, like, if they stop here, don't stop here, because there are things I like in this chapter. A lot of things I like, too. It's just...
We keep playing it.
Everything that sucked is up front.
Could you imagine someone cranking out like 8 to 10 hours of content on a game they hate? Like, that would be...
That's a good point.
That's a level of like...
Yep.
I can't even think about it.
This is a lot of work. It's because I really love this game.
Yeah.
But like, also remember, right? Like, side quests aren't that important. So if developers are going to put dumb things in this game, they should put those dumb things in side quests. I mean, you can make an argument that they shouldn't put dumb things in any of the game, but you forgive it. It's whatever.
Right.
It's a fun game. And there is another side quest in Costa del Sol that I did find pretty entertaining, and that's what we should talk about next. So the side quest is called The Saga of the Seaside Inn, and it stars one of my favorite side characters, Johnny himself.
Yes.
Oh, Johnny, a name thou hast claimed is thine. But if thou truly Johnny be, then who, pray tell, am I?
Or themselves, I should say.
Yarrow!
So who did this side quest?
I did this one.
I did not do it.
Poor Ernest is just along for the ride for this whole episode.
Well, this one's a huge one.
Yeah.
If you want the platinum trophy, this is like...
You have to do this one.
You have to do this one because it kind of stays around till the end of the game.
Right.
The side quest finishes, but what it sets up.
And if you're not a Johnny fan, which there are some people in our YouTube comments who are just not Johnny fans. They don't like him at all. And if you're not a Johnny fan, this side quest has got to be worse for you than the last two side quests were for me combined. Because Johnny is literally all over this side quest. And it ain't short. It's a pretty lengthy one. And while I enjoy the character Johnny, I should reiterate that I especially enjoy the character because of the voice actor. The voice actor,
for sure.
His name's Yuri Lowenthal. We talked about him in a past episode, I think Chapter 6. He also plays Peter Parker or Spider-Man, right, in the modern games, and he's just absolutely fantastic.
Truly, you are the realest bro.
And the developers, because he's so fantastic, I would say they were so wise to write him into his own side quest that utilizes his acting talents so frequently by literally duplicating his character. Because he really has the ability to authentically play both the like endearing sincerity and the dopish humor that is the character Johnny.
Yeah.
He does a perfect job. I don't think I would change anything about his performance.
He is like the embodiment of what I would say like a JRPG himbo would be.
Yeah.
Himbo?
They nailed it.
What's a himbo?
It's like a boyfriend, like...
Oh, like a himbo?
Yeah, like instead of a bimbo, he's a himbo.
A himbo. Yeah. Oh, I've never heard that. That's fun. Yeah, that fits him totally.
Whew. Hey, guys. Looking good.
Yeah, and so I love the character. I mean, clearly he's a himbo, but he's hilarious, and the voice actor just nails it. So, like, this character was really well developed in this series.
Much more than the original game, remember, when he calls us a murderer?
Yeah, I like
An
that.
expletive murderer?
Yeah.
Okay, so this quest with Johnny, right, it starts out when you head back over to the Seaside Inn, which actually has NPCs walking around in front of it now.
So business is booming.
You could say booming in a different sense of the word boom, I would say, because if you actually listen to them, none of them are impressed with this like rundown state that the inn is still in.
Don't think I want to share a bed with rats.
They're just like kind of like, why are we here? I'm lost, Snaps the photographer is there too. And side note, by the way, when Snaps asks to take Cloud's picture, as he does, if you ever talk to Snaps at locations, he'll ask to take Cloud's picture.
Looks like another fine day in paradise. Shall we commemorate it with a photo?
Cloud does this like dramatic
I love his poses.
hand on his forehead pose, which is pretty funny because it's more evidence that the game is not taking itself too seriously. Because Cloud would never do that.
He would never,
right?
but it's hilarious.
What is it called? Like they position you, the photographer?
Oh, yeah, like pose the person.
Yeah.
Put your hand here and look over there. And...
It's like a pose that somebody would make you do.
But Cloud does it himself.
In like a glamour shot from like the 1990s.
Surprise! There's a whole theme of 90s running through this entire thing, right?
We're all nostalgic for the 90s.
Second best decade.
That is a good decade. 90s were great. 80s were great too. That's your favorite, right? 80s decade?
are it for me, yeah.
Yeah. I feel bad for those who never grew up without smartphones and
internet.
Yeah. Okay, so when we arrive at this inn, we find a stressed out Johnny, and he's looking for help now that he's like decided to, I guess, renovate this inn completely because he's out of debt, right? Remember how he gets out of debt? He's got debt-free finances now, and he wants to put some of that money into making this inn better.
Right.
And when we ask,
You short on hands?
Ah, if only, my dear bro. Kind of the opposite problem, actually.
and then another Johnny appears standing behind us.
Beds have all been made. What's next?
And it's one of those clones that has like the leaf on its head.
Yeah,
the
from
ninjutsu Yuffie's
thing.
abilities.
Yeah. So apparently, since Johnny's like heroic multiplication, he's like made multiples of himself in defeating the Graspterpod. That's where this Yuffie thing happened, right back in chapter 6.
Holding the Moogle bombs.
Oh, that's right.
They're like little Moogles.
They turn into the Moogles. I think they shoot lasers or something weird. But yeah.
I believe that in the series, the spell is called Utsusemi.
Yeah, you said that last time. Yeah, something like that. It makes them duplicate or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so not only have some of these clones managed to stick around.
Aw. How come he gets to talk to my bro and I don't? So unfair.
They've even managed to multiply because there's more of them.
Yep.
And this news completely floors Yuffie.
I mean, I never doubted my amazing abilities, but even I didn't realize I was capable of doing that.
So this side quest is Cloud and Yuffie, right? The last one was Cloud and Aerith. The one before that, Cloud and Barret. This is Cloud and Yuffie. And she's clearly the one responsible for these multiple Johnnies due to like her ninjutsu, like wizardry kind of stuff. And then Johnny asks us for help tracking down a bunch of his clones who were sent out into the region to gather materials for the inn, but they never returned.
I'm begging you, bro. You gotta help me out here. A Johnny's a wild beast that can't be tamed.
And that's basically the quest, right? That's the whole setup.
So it's a fetch quest.
It's a fetch quest, but it's got some unique elements in it. And my favorite part of this whole side quest, in addition to just having more time with the ridiculously fun Johnny character and voice actor, but my favorite part beside that is the dialogue that they wrote for Johnny throughout this quest in the way that he refers to his clones as himself constantly. And the clones refer to each other as themselves. Like, even right here in this initial conversation, Johnny says things like,
Turns out I can't rely on myself. My other selves.
And he says,
I suppose I should have known I couldn't be trusted.
and this is all stupidly fun and clever to me.
It's almost like a meta exploration of like self-realization by way of multiple clones.
But like in like a physical form. Yeah. It does feel like that. Totally.
It's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the dialogue writing here is as good as the last quest's dialogue writing was bad. Like it's like they're totally on opposite sides of the spectrum to me.
Think you're surprised? Imagine how I felt. Good day, sir. I saw your help wanted ad. Oh, say, you look awfully familiar. Too familiar. You look exactly like me. No, please, stay back. Don't come any closer. Okay, that last part was just a joke.
But you could tell that the writers were having lots of fun with this one. So then we're off to the tropical part of the Corel region to track down these various Johnnies. And the first two we find are near a location called Costa Falls. And they both greet us in sync, like talking together.
Yeah, they talk at the same time.
Like Johnny himself would have, like, hey, bro, or something like that.
No one knows me better than myself.
And it creeps Yuffie out a little bit, even.
This whole synchronized talking thing is kind of creepy.
And they explained that they were gathering materials until they were chased off by monsters and they were forced to drop these materials.
The more pieces you pick up, the better off me and me'll be.
And so then it becomes our job, which is a fetch quest part of it, to visit the 8 zip lines in the region where we can pick up the dropped materials and bring them back to the Johnnies, which is kind of stupid if you think about it. They're chased by monsters and they just conveniently dropped these materials at the top of 8 different zip line locations. Whatever.
It's all an excuse for you to be able to find all the zip line locations.
Zip lines and use them.
Because then they're fast travel points.
Exactly. So that's all we do at this point. We run around, we look for zip lines, we pick up the materials. And by this point, I had already explored the region pretty extensively, so it didn't take long to track down everything we needed to gather. I could fast travel to a lot of these places already. And this part of the region does have a few confusing ups and downs, like levels and layers, but not nearly as many.
I was like, just wait.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
That's what's coming. But we'll get there for sure.
I was getting PTSD flashbacks of Final Fantasy XI. When I got to Gungaga, I was like, oh, they did it to me again.
Oh, from 11. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. So then there's also some funny dialogue, because there's dialogue between these characters, remember, as we're walking. There's dialogue between Yuffie and Cloud here, too, just like there was with Aerith and Cloud and Barret and Cloud. And with Yuffie and Cloud, as you run around this region, Yuffie tries to convince Cloud. It's actually kind of cute, funny dialogue.
Maybe I could make some clones of me and you to help out.
That is a terrible idea.
I think you meant to say terrific idea.
Yeah.
But there is one point in the conversation that it gets a little over the top, and I don't know what to do with it. Because at one point during the conversation, Yuffie seems to be arguing with herself, as though she's already cloned herself, and then multiple Yuffie voices speak in sync. But then if you look at Yuffie in your party, there's just one Yuffie.
How about we take a look over there? Nah, I think we'd have better luck over there. If it's not materia, I'm not interested. Hey, Cloud! Cloud? Are you even listening to us? Like I said, fun!
No, not fun.
Ooh!
It's a little confusing. I think it's just meant to be a gag that maybe Yuffie did clone herself temporarily or something, and then, like, uncloned herself. I don't really know, but
I don't know if she has the doppelganger ability, but I don't think she does it here. I think it was just
she doesn't
more.
have it yet. Right.
Oh, really?
I think that weapon is one you get in Gongaga, I think.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So then once we picked up the materials, we bring them to the two Johnny clones who tell us that there are two more clones who got held up somewhere looking for parts, trying to fix a boiler. And then they ask us if we can go help them next. And when we agree, they say,
"Tell them Johnny says hi." It's a thing we do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which again is fun dialogue.
Yeah, that's good.
And the delivery's great. Like, it's good.
It's great.
And then we find the next two Johnny clones up by an old factory where there's more stupidly fun dialogue between the Johnnies.
Johnny said that she needed my help.
What? No, I didn't. Wait, was it you? Not me? So you're saying it was me? No way! You're too stubborn to ask for help! Hey! You talking shit about me?
You two are a riot!
And then they ask us to use a chocobo to dig up a transmuter chip that they can then use to transmute some boiler valve for their
They
inn.
had to find the boiler valve, yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, I ended up running around the factory on Chocoback for a few minutes, and I didn't realize that I had already dug up and transmuted the part that they needed long ago. So I'd already taken care of it.
Yeah, I had it before.
You had it too? Okay.
Yeah, same way.
Yeah, probably back in chapter 7 or something like that. So then I just ended up going back to Johnny's and giving it to them. And then there's more dialogue between Yuffie and Cloud where Yuffie tries to convince Cloud to let her make clones of him.
Just think, you could start a mercenary franchise. And I could even help you set up a branch in Wutai. Plus, Shinra wouldn't stand a chance against a Cloud army. You and your Buster Sword-wielding buddies would hack them to bits.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, once we hand the necessary item to the Johnnies, they inform us that one more Johnny clone needs help.
Said he wanted to give the hotel royal flair by putting the Tonberry King's crown on display. Last we heard, he was desert bound. Hope he's not dying of thirst or knife wounds.
Which anyone who understands Tonberries knows that this is a very bad idea for Johnny.
Super bad idea.
Like, no, bad.
Especially the Tonberry King.
Especially the Tonberry King, not even just the Tonberries.
Yeah.
The king of the Tonberries. So the Johnnies ask if we can go check on him, and they say,
"Our other life is in your hands, bro."
Which is perfect.
Yeah, it's good.
It's funny because when I did this quest, I am replaying. So this was all available to me in chapter 6. So I did all the zipline stuff in chapter 6, but I could not progress
past this point
because
gotcha.
When you meet this last Johnny that you're going to talk about, I don't know, it's not the ocean, but like you can't
get to the Tonberry location because
without the buggy. Yeah, the sticks are in the water.
Sticks are in the water.
You need the buggy to progress. So apparently the Tonberry King was just like there.
Just on the other side.
Just on the other
down a little
side.
bit. Yeah.
But I didn't get to complete this quest until 2 chapters later, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Tonberry King is the one who put the sticks there.
I don't think so.
Is that a mirage?
So I remember this being the culmination of a lot longer build-up because I didn't do this the first playthrough, and then I went back to it. And I'm like, oh, I finally get to help out the last Johnny.
Yeah, I think that's what the YouTube commenter was saying earlier, too. They tried to do it early and couldn't finish it off. So maybe you could have started this one earlier than chapter 9, even if you're not on hard mode.
Okay.
I don't know. It's very possible I just didn't see it until now. But you can finish it now, so it's relevant, I guess. But yeah, so we head out to the Borderlands, which is the place with the sticks in the water you can't cross, right, without the buggy. And that's where we find the last Johnny clone, and he's standing there, and he's happy to see us. And he asks if we could basically fight the Tonberry King and steal his crown.
You'd really be doing me a solid if you brought me back that crown. Preferably in the most pristine condition possible.
And then we just agree to do it. And that brings us to the fight with the Tonberry King. So I am curious, because you can do the Tonberry King fight as part of Fiend Intel as well. Ernest, did you get a chance to fight the Tonberry King?
No, I didn't, because I would remember that fight.
Okay.
And I'm not looking forward to it either.
It is hard.
Yeah, it's tricky. How about you, Spence? You did it, right?
The second time around on hard mode, yeah.
Yes, you did it on hard mode.
I think you watched me play and I was struggling.
Yeah, I saw you play part of it and you were frustrated, but not frustrated long enough for me to pull my camera out and get some good footage.
No, it wasn't like the dying fight. I got through it all right.
Yeah, you did pretty good. Yeah, so the Tonberry King fight also fulfills, like I was mentioning, the final Fiend classified intel. It's called Heavy Lies the Crown. So if you do all the Fiend intel in the desert part,
it appears that you've arrived at the lair of the Tonberry King.
This is the final boss of that, if it makes sense. It becomes available, at least at that point. But in this side quest, it's slightly different with the fight because you need to also use the steal ability to take the crown of the Tonberry King before you beat him, which means if you already beat him once before, but you didn't happen to steal the crown, you have to fight him again.
Well, you don't have to.
Really?
There's options, right? You can either fight the Tonberry King and not steal the crown and just beat him, but then you have like a cracked, worse, lesser crown.
So I know there's the pristine crown, which is the one that gives you the most points in the side quest. Then there's also the marred crown.
Yeah, the marred. So like it's after you would beat up the Tonberry King.
Do you automatically get the marred crown?
For beating him.
Oh,
So,
okay. So the marred crown, okay, like if you knock the Tonberry King's crown off his head and you steal it, it's pristine.
Yes, you have to use the steel material.
But if you don't steal it in time, he'll actually put it back on his head, I think. And then if you knock it off a second time and steal that one, then it's marred. So I didn't realize he gives it to you.
No, I don't think you have to.
Is that not right?
Because I beat him once, but I didn't steal the crown.
So you had the marred one. So the marred one doesn't give you as many points.
But the option was there for me to complete the side quest with Johnny without...
Oh.
But then I'm like, no, I'm stealing it. But you have to do it a certain way to knock it off, right? You have to pressure him and do it a certain way. And I was having a hard time with that on hard mode.
I got you. So they do let you see, I don't know, because I hadn't beat him yet at this point.
Because a lot of people will not use the steel materia. No matter how many times you try to get them to use that ability.
How come?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I know it's...
Are they like morally opposed? So they're like, I don't steal.
Okay, well, I didn't grow up playing Final Fantasy games. And I know steal is a ability that you use throughout the series.
Yeah, especially Yuffie back in the original.
I never try and steal. The only time I ever used it in this whole remake Rebirth series is in this moment when it specifically told me that I had to use the steal. If I'm not told to do it, I will never use that ability.
Yeah, that's typical.
No, I can tell you the reason why people don't use steal. I'm one of them that doesn't really use it, and it's because in the turn-based versions of these games, steal was an action, right? So if you're in the middle of a fight, and it's a particularly tough one, you're wasting an action.
Well, yeah, you can't hit them.
To try to steal, and half the time that doesn't pan out.
It would
fail.
Because
you fail.
Right.
So you're wasting an action, right? So that's why I don't like doing it. And I'm guessing a lot, if you came from that world, your mind is still like...
Sure, but my point is like if you go back to like the old strategy guides or if you want specific things. So even in Remake, there's that, not the final boss, but the mid boss in the train graveyard. He's like a Grim Reaper guy that's like on a chariot. If you steal from him, you get a specific weapon for Aerith.
Yeah.
That you can only get if you do that.
That was the trade-off, right? So it was like, sometimes you can get something really good.
Right, or in like Final Fantasy XII, when you're fighting, I think Gilgamesh actually, you can get like the Genji gloves or something if you steal, but if you don't...
And sometimes it's the only way you can get that item that's like super rare.
But that stresses me out because that makes me feel like I'm missing out. I should be stealing from every enemy always.
Like every single time, right.
But I don't do that. I can't do that, Square. Can't do it.
Yeah, and I think most people are like that. In the last few Final Fantasies, I haven't used steal much at all, but I can't remember if it was in 8 or in 10 where I would use steal in every fight.
Yeah.
Just across the board. It might have been 7 original, actually. 1 or 2 of the Final Fantasies I got in the habit. Now, there's another ability called Mug, which allows you to hit and steal at the same time, but usually the physical attack that comes with it is not quite as strong as like just a straight up attack.
Yeah.
But Mug is available here if you level up your steal materia enough. I just didn't dare use it because I didn't know if it was as effective as the regular steal, because everything says you have to steal it.
Because it's too ambiguous. It shouldn't.
Right.
That's my whole point.
Gotcha.
Especially when they got like after 10. They started making it to where if you had a class appropriate role, like you were a thief and you had you had the correct armor set that gave you the bonuses to the steal ability,
wouldn't fail.
Then it made sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like a thief in the MMO versions of these games are overpowered, right? But like in the older turn-based things, they're kind of weak.
But the materia system in Final Fantasy VII allows anyone to do it with the steal materia equipped. But I'm not doing it. Sorry, I'm not doing it.
But you did it here, right? Because you were told to.
No, I did it this time because it told me to, because I wanted the pristine crown.
Right.
But if you assess the enemy, it says it knocks off his crown. And I'm like, okay, that's when I have to steal.
That's when you have to steal
But I didn't do it right the first time. And when I was talking to Johnny, I could have given him the marred crown and I did not use steal.
And apparently it just gives you less points, whatever that means.
I don't know what it did because I didn't turn it in.
Maybe that's less Yuffie relationship points?
I was too nervous to do the one that wasn't pristine. So
You're like, I got to get the pristine.
Had to do it a bunch of times.
Interesting. Okay.
Preferably in the most pristine condition possible.
So at this point of the game, I had actually attempted the Tonberry King fight twice before, but I'd been unsuccessful at beating him. And I hadn't really tried, like, it was more like an experimental, I know this is going to be hard. I want to see what it's like kind of fight.
Pop in.
Yeah. So I figured I'd come back and defeat him later after maybe I leveled up a little bit more or finished a few more things in the region or something. Because any Final Fantasy fan knows that Tonberries, while they may look innocent and maybe even a little cute, can easily kill you with a single hit with virtually no effort at all.
And the winner!
That's Chef's Knife.
Yes, Chef's Knife. Duh. That's their main attack that they're known for. But that's kind of what makes them so awesome to me. Because developers in Japan, that means decades ago, they invented this cute little green thing that's absolutely deadly. It will destroy you and mess you up. You have to have like a pretty dark sense of humor to create something like that.
Beyond that, they're like their own little cult, right?
Because they usually come in groups.
Yeah, always come in groups. I mean,
not always. You can fight a single one sometimes, but like usually they're in groups. I know in 11, when you played 11, most of the time they're in groups. I remember them being really hard to beat in 13. Like there were groups of them in 13, and they're just like so hard.
They brought them back for the DLC in 16. They have the Tonberry King and all of this.
Yes.
And they're like the most menacing Tonberries have ever been.
Right. Well, that's the thing is like, okay, so Tonberries have been around since Final Fantasy V. So Cactuar since Final Fantasy VI, Tonberry since Final Fantasy V. And they've appeared in literally every single mainline Final Fantasy since then, except 16. They only were in the Rising Tide DLC, and they look super creepy different. They look different in 11 too, but like crazy, right? And we still need to do an episode on Rising Tide, but we're going to be way behind once we get that one out there. But, so we all have like a love-hate relationship with these things because they can be pretty friggin' hard to beat, but they're also like really rewarding once you do. And they're known for Chef's Knife, which is the one-hit kill. They also typically have really high HP, and a lot of times they come with the counterattack ability called Karma. So that's kind of how we know them. And this is the Tonberry King, right? So that means he's even a bigger threat. Because remember on hard mode, like with Hell House, then if you're on hard mode, like Tonberries come out of it as well. So you have to fight those.
And since this is the king, what does the adage go? If you're going to
take a shot of the king,
take out
you
the
best
king,
not miss.
You best not miss or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's good. And accurate, right?
For this one,
So this king, not only does he come ready with a bunch of one-hit kill attacks, but he can also summon a bunch of his little Tonberry friends, just like Ernest was talking about. So his little Tonberry friends can one-hit kill us as well. And he also starts out the fight by casting slow on the entire party. And that's another common thing for Tonberries. And so just to give you an idea of how my first couple fights went, my experimental fights went before taking on this side quest. So the first time I fought it, because I took notes, it one-hit killed Barret right when the fight began, just like dead. Then it went on to kill Cloud, and then it went on to kill Aerith.
That voice calling to me. I know you.
And then on my second try, Cloud was killed right away. So I rezzed him, and then he was killed instantly again. So I rezzed him again, and he was killed again by the attack, I think, is well-honed knife for this one.
Yeah, he has a more specific one.
Well, in the meantime, both Barret and Aerith were killed by the little Tonberries that he summons, the chef's knife attacks, right?
Yep.
Those are my 2 attempts. They didn't go very well. So this round of the Tonberry King, it was going to need some more preparation, right? Because it's complicated too by needing to steal this pristine crown, which means that you have to equip one or more of your characters with steel materia, and then you have to pressure the Tonberry King in order for the crown to fall off.
Then you can steal it.
Right. Now, I think it can fall off a second time, but then it's not pristine anymore.
Okay, I don't know. I just know that I didn't steal it, and I had that option. So.
Yeah, and I actually succeeded in stealing it up front, so I don't know about the Marred Crown thing. It's just what I read. But
just for my experience, so I knew going in that this was the enemy intel, and I was playing on hard mode the first attempt, and I never can tell you the differences because I didn't play this on normal mode versus hard mode. Every time I'm attempting these quote-unquote hard bosses, they've always been on hard mode. So I think I played it 7 times before I beat it.
That's actually pretty good for hard mode boss like this.
I don't know. I was struggling.
I was going to say, considering it was a Tonberry King, that's not bad.
And hard mode.
But I was like, okay, this is tough. But he has abilities where he drops plates from the sky and it dazes you. So you just have to dodge all the plates.
Well, how do you even dodge those? They just...
Well, that's the point.
You can roll constantly, but they're always hitting you on the head.
You roll constantly or you run. You can't hold still because then they kind of knock you unconscious and then the little minions just go up and stab you. So you have... which is it's very creative, but you have to be careful of those... There's lots of mechanics that will stun you, slow you, make you susceptible to the minions, chef's knife, and things like that. So very interesting. I finally got to the point where I think synergy abilities helped me pressure him, which allowed me to get the crown to fall off. And just keeping my whole party alive was such a challenge because I can't use Phoenix Downs.
Because you can't heal.
I can only use Raise.
You can use Raise, that's right. But your MP is limited.
Yeah.
So you can't use an ether to get more MP.
You can heal and do all that stuff, but you just run out of MP if you don't.
Yeah, and apparently when the crown is off his head, it leaves the Tonberry King in a consistently pressured state as long as the crown is off. Which makes it a little easier, but not much, right?
Yeah.
So when Johnny sent me to get this pristine crown, my fight was probably a way different experience than yours, Spencer, because I was on normal mode. But I figured I might as well come prepared this time, right?
Yeah.
Since I'd been owned quite easily before. So I made my party Cloud, Barret, and Yuffie instead of Aerith. And then I equipped Yuffie with steel, and I changed her shortcut key to steel as well.
Smart.
Because I figured that would just make it easier. And I thought I might as well entrust the stealing to the original thief from the original game, right? Who's doing all the stealing then. But then I did equip Cloud with steel too as a backup. And then I bought a bunch of revival earrings.
That's a smart call.
And then I put them on Yuffie and Cloud so that at least one time, if they were killed, they would immediately come back to life. And then I put the safety bit accessory on Barret, which protects against one-hit kills, apparently.
Does it protect against Chef Knight?
Yeah, it does, because it grants it grants immunity against instant death.
I didn't think it was.
I didn't think it would work. I was like, "There's no way," but it does.
I thought that would save you from Doom or something.
Right, that's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought.
That's cool.
I thought Doom, but no, it protects you against instant death, which is a chef's knife.
I have 4 safety bits. I could have just equipped them all.
Did?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, because you're on hard mode. Yeah, you should have put those on your characters because I only had one.
And I would have been fine.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so.
You would have been easy breezy. Yeah.
That would have saved me so much time.
But what did it actually do though? Did it take you down to 1 hit point, or what did
With safety bit on, what does it do?
Safety bit, it doesn't affect you at all. It just says immune.
That's so awesome.
It doesn't hurt you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even do damage, because a lot of times you get the trade-off with the item.
Right. It won't kill you, but it gives you a 1 HP.
It'll take you down 1 hit point.
Yeah, and then the second hit, the Dark Claws, I think, or something like that.
Kefka in 6 casts a spell called Fallen 1 that takes your whole party to 1 hit point.
Down to 1 HP,
Yeah.
Ever Crisis has a lot of those too.
It's dirty, yeah.
Turns out the hard mode is just the way I play the game. So I just need to learn this.
That's what makes it hard mode.
I could have just equipped this accessory that I've got 7 of in my inventory.
I'm impressed if you have that many of those. I don't know where you got them. I guess maybe toward the end of the game. Yeah. So, and then I made sure since Barret had the safety bit, I gave him the raise materia.
That's smart.
So if anybody else dies and the earrings don't help.
And he gains ATB charges really quickly, so he can use like pray and
right.
raise.
So it kind of works that way, right? Apparently, I read this after the fact. Apparently, it's also a good idea to equip subversion materia linked with warding materia.
Oh, because that makes you immune.
That makes you immune to instant death. I did not think about this until after the fight, so I did not try this, but
man, I do.
I read about that.
I'm just terrible at this game. I should not be playing on hard mode.
You're not.
This all
You're
makes
good.
sense to me when you tell me, but
well, I didn't think about that one either.
The problem is like there's so many different ways to tweak the things, right? Like you got to figure out like, okay, what is the optimal way to make this work? And unfortunately, with an enemy like this, you're going to have to die a lot of times to figure it out.
I just beat my head against the wall until I get lucky.
Which makes me laugh in the background for sure. So this was my third time trying to fight the Tonberry King. I'll tell you how my fight went. So this time I was ready to win. I was like, I'm not going to die again quick. So I got all that stuff equipped. And right when the fight kicked off, the Tonberry tried to one-hit kill Barret right away with the well-honed knife, which failed.
Awesome.
Boom! Because Barret had the safety bit equipped. But then he cast stop on Barret.
Good move.
so it was like, that's not helpful. But at least stop is like temporary, right? And you don't have to like res him.
It's not petrify where you like end up.
It wasn't petrify, it was just stop. So he just like froze for a little bit. And then I just got through the fight character switching and like pummeling him with magic and physical attacks, ninjutsu. And then I just tried to avoid his one-hit kills, like physically, because he usually has to be up right next to you.
Yeah, you can bait up the stab and then dodge.
Right. But then you can only do that with one character. So the Tonberries can walk right up to your other characters and kill them, you know? Oh, and the falling pots and pans, those hit me more than I missed them. Like, it was almost like I was trying to be hit by those. Like, I got hit by so many pots and pans. And then Cloud was still hit with a one-hit kill chef's knife from one of the little minion Tonberries, but then he instantly came back to life because he had the revival earrings on. Cool. Those break once it brings you back to life. So you can only use them once. Yeah.
It would be kind of broken if they reactivate it.
Then, right.
Yeah, that's true.
You never die.
That's a good point. Like, like the perpetual revival earrings. Like the game is now broken.
Just always use that.
And then after Cloud came back to life from those earrings, then he was able to steal the crown in pristine condition. So it's actually Cloud who stole it, not Yuffie. But then he was one-hit killed again.
Okay, and then he was gone.
By a well-honed knife attack, And I actually didn't bother rezzing him because it was at the very end of the HP of the Tonberry. So I just let Barret and Yuffie finish off this green piece of royal crap.
You got what you came for.
I got my crown, right?
Yeah.
The fight ended up only being like 3 minutes, just under 3 minutes, actually. So it actually wasn't too bad. In the end, I thought it was kind of fun. Once you're adequately prepared for it, then it makes it a lot more fun, and I was. So that was good.
Yeah.
So once you steal the crown and then you beat the Tonberry King, that's the point where you go back to Johnny, the Johnny clone. You hand it over to him. He basically flips out.
Man, I can't wait to see the look on my face when I see this.
When I see this.
So dumb. I love it all.
It's great. It's all good.
Yeah. And then he tells us he's taking the crown back to the hotel. And he tells us to meet Johnny there to get a reward. And so when we return to the Seaside Inn, there are now multiple Johnny clones who are hanging out, and they're doing like various jobs like cooking, crafting, stuff like that. And they're saying little funny one-liners as they work, which makes me smile.
Almost drooled in the soup.
When we go up the steps and we speak to the real Johnny, Yuffie then asks if she should make all the clones disappear.
So, what now? Want me to poof them?
What? No, not yet. We're in the middle of renovating, and I'm gonna need all my hands on deck to finish. At the end of the day, I want to be able to say I remodeled this place all by myself.
Yeah.
That's so good.
It's always funny.
It's always good.
It doesn't get old to me. Probably does to people out there, but for me, I was like, nah, this is fun. And then the scene fades into the near future where all 7 Johnnies, there's 7 of them, are standing in front of the newly remodeled hotel.
There's 7 of them?
Yeah.
Like the 7 dwarves.
Like Final Fantasy VII.
Look at that.
Or 7 dwarves.
Or the unrelated thing from a different intellectual property.
Or that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so there are 7. And that's so funny. And they welcome us to, this is kind of dumb, they welcome us to Johnny's Seaside Inn remake.
Yeah, they call it a remake.
Welcome to Johnny's Seaside Inn remake!
Oh, nice.
Which now it looks much more impressive, right?
So, what do you think, bro?
I'm impressed.
Without you guys, none of this would have been possible.
You're absolutely right.
And then there's a bunch of silly dialogue back and forth between the Johnnies. They're throwing out thanks and compliments.
Truly, you are the realest bro.
Until the clone Johnnies decide that it's time to leave the real Johnny solo.
Whatever trials await, we'll face them together. Yeah, about that. Now that all the renovations are complete, I think it's time that we peace out.
And Johnny has to dramatically find strength in himself to carry on.
You don't need us anymore, Johnny. You've got you. Johnny! Johnny out! Johnny's!
And this scene was the icing on the cake for me because, again, it's just so ridiculous in like the most call attention to itself kind of ways.
Yeah. I lost a part of myself today.
Where the gamer is obviously in on this whole joke, right? And that's what makes it funny. It works. That's why the other things didn't work.
Yeah.
This does. And this is where we're introduced to Johnny's treasure trove. And that's where we will now, from this point on in the game, as we collect unique items all across the game, we're supposed to bring them back to Johnny for him to display at his hotel along the wall. And you can actually look at the wall, and they have like the physical wall there, and you can look at each of these like places to put an item, and there's 88 spots.
Yeah, like the trophies and the plushies.
Yeah. And you can see which ones you've turned over to him already. And in Chapter 9, I didn't have very many of these. I had barely scratched the surface. I had 11 of the 88 items so far. Most of mine were Queen's Blood trophies from different challenges and like the ship, stuff.
I had 42 or something like that, but I had already played the game, so it retroactively...
Oh, it gave them...
It gave all my collectibles,
from the previous game.
From the previous playthrough, but I...
Even stuff in future chapters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To put it in perspective, though, that's less than half, and I had already completed the game. So there's so much more to explore.
It's so
it's
much.
Probably from side quests and all these other collectibles that I'll have to get.
That's probably why people are saying don't waste your time trying to platinum this game.
Yeah, it's crazy. You need it for the platinum. And it does this cool thing because it's like an in-game achievement system, right? Because there's trophies if you play on PlayStation, right? Or if you play on PC, you have achievements on Steam. But then when you play this game, you have like a checklist of things that you could go and show, and it's an achievement system because the hotel will actually upgrade like its star rating depending on how many collectibles that you bring to the hotel.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm like at a 3-star hotel now or something. I have to go up to a 5.
Oh, nice. What am I at? Like a 1 with 11?
I don't know.
Ugh.
So it's like they do the whole renovation, but then I don't know if there's physical changes based on the star level you get. But I did know that after this whole retroactively taking in all my achievements so far, that when I left, the boxes to like squeeze through to get into Johnny's,
they're gone.
They're gone, right?
Yeah.
So it's like people are, you can come, and now it's like it's becoming more of like an open thing.
It's more open, yeah. The narrow boxes where you had to squeeze through. Yeah, they're missing. I noticed that same thing too.
Yeah.
And apparently too, once you do bring Johnny all 88 items, which none of us here have done, right? You get to open a red treasure chest in front of the building. There's like a red chest there kind of taunting you.
Oh yeah, it's there.
And you get a special item as a reward. And this is a spoiler. I'm actually going to say what that is because most of us will never get that.
Oh, I want to know what it is.
I looked it up. Do you have any guesses?
Oh yeah, spoiler warning if you don't...
Spoiler warning if you don't want to know what the red chest contains.
Skip ahead like 2 minutes.
I'm not going to bother getting it, so you can share it.
I do want to know. Tell me what it is.
Okay. It's the piano minigame sheet music for Sephiroth's One Wing Angel.
Oh, are you serious?
That's what's in the red chest, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's not like it's an item or anything?
No, that's what it is. So if you like the piano minigame, then you might like that because that's an iconic song.
Do you get a reward for getting an A on it but talking to that guy?
I assume you do, but
Oh, okay. That's pretty unique.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's required to platinum the game too, but isn't that interesting?
Gosh.
That track has a lot of syncopation and dissonance in it. It's got to be hard to play on that little mini piano.
You just wait till Gungaga. Did you play the piano in Gungaga, Ernest?
No, I didn't.
Dude.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
And there's worse ones after that. But that is the end of this pretty lengthy, Saga of the Seaside Inn side quest, which affects your relationship with Yuffie, given that you spend the whole thing with her, right? And then as you walk away from the inn, you can also notice a distinct difference in what the NPCs are saying who are walking around the hotel.
I don't know much about art or whatever, but this is really nice.
They're much more positive now that it's been renovated, which is fun.
That's a nice touch.
It's changed so much.
And then there's one more side quest to complete before we leave the Corel region. There's so many, man, and they're long. And this one is the one that has to do with Jules.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So
everyone remembers this one that did
Everyone remembers this, yeah. So Jules, we ran into him back at the beach during the fashion showcase.
Stop by the training facility when you have a moment. We're in need of your particular skills.
And this side quest is called Bodybuilders in a Bind, and it takes place at that random gym in the middle of the tropical side of the Corel region. You remember that gym?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The cliff side, the one that was on the upper ledge of the cliff.
It's up on the hill.
Yeah, on the mountain.
Yeah. And I remember in Chapter 7, I got there during my exploration, but I couldn't do anything inside of it. And I was like, this feels random, but knowing Final Fantasy, there'll be something I'm supposed to do here in the future. This is that future point where we can do something here in Chapter 9. So you go in there, you talk to Jules. He's in there in this gym. And Jules is interesting because he physically stands out to me for having the physique of a guy, but then he seems to wear makeup like a woman. But then again, this is Japan, so a lot of the guys look like women automatically. They're more feminine.
Hey, I'll go on record. I would date Cloud in a heartbeat. All right, he's gorgeous. So beautiful.
So beautiful.
And all the other Final Fantasy protagonists.
Yeah, they are beautiful men. There's no doubt. But Jules seems to be wearing makeup, which isn't super common for the men. So I wondered if the developers intended for us to believe that he's trans. But I looked it up, and apparently he's just supposed to be seen as an effeminate man who has an affinity for makeup.
Okay.
But I wanted to say about Jules, right, is I wanted to know more about him. And when I was looking up information about him, this is crazy to me. Did you know that Jules... I'm going to blow your mind.
Okay.
Jules is actually Andrea Rodea's little brother.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Is that real?
I didn't know
It's
that.
a real thing.
That makes more sense.
So apparently the Japanese names of both of these characters allude to them being brothers. And then if you look them up on Final Fantasy Wiki, which is kind of where everything lands, right?
Mm-hmm.
It also says that they're brothers. Which I don't think they look anything alike, but hey, I'll, go with it, accept it. Which perhaps also makes do you remember the line that Andrea Rodea says about, in Remake, he says how notions of gender don't apply to beauty or something like that?
Yeah.
True beauty is an expression of the heart, a thing without shame, to which notions of gender don't apply.
He says that line, and you can take it as you will, and then he has this little brother who's this big masculine man that has girl makeup, but is just an effeminate man. It's just very interesting. It's very interesting. Do with it what you will. I know there's many opinions out there about this stuff, so do with it what you will.
But I think Final Fantasy VII Remake has done it better than any games.
Yeah, because they're not drawing attention and preaching about anything. It's they're just placing people who you might see in life in this game. And if you're going to tackle representation of people who might be seen as controversial, then that's the best way to do it, is to just put them in like you would see them in regular life without preaching.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is it's you have one way of doing it, which Dragon Age, I think they do really, really poorly.
Yeah. It was annoying to everyone.
And this time, no dragon escaped.
Thanks to Tosh.
That's why we recruited her.
Actually, Tosh uses them for themselves now.
They asked us to let folks know, so now you do.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Thank you for telling me. That's why we recruited them.
Even people who agreed with what they were preaching in Dragon Age were annoyed because it was so forceful.
But then you play Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cloud is cross-dressing and he's doing the dance at the Honeybee Inn, and I don't know, you're navigating this really minefield, controversial social minefield, and they do it adeptly.
It is interesting.
Perfection.
So back to Jules in this side quest. So who did the side quests here?
I did it on hard mode.
Did you do it on normal mode?
No, I didn't do it on normal
I think
mode.
it's got to be the same on hard mode, this one.
I don't know. It's hard. Everyone says it's hard. So
It's crazy. And Ernest, you said you didn't do this one either, right?
No, not this one, no.
I'm so sorry. This is like the Ernest Along for the Ride episode because it's like all side quests.
No, but that's good because in some of these I'm realizing like maybe I shouldn't go do that one because that one sounds like a waste of time kind of thing.
So we'll just fill you in, right?
sacrifice our time for you.
Yeah. So you go in and talk to Jules, and when you talk to Jules, he asks Cloud and Tifa.
What do you say? Care to sweat with us?
I think I would. I haven't done a proper workout in forever.
I'm not sure why he didn't ask Aerith.
My legs are killing me.
She was out of breath going up the mountain.
Right,
so
exactly.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
So Tifa, this is a Tifa Cloud quest, right? Tifa agrees, and then Jules asks us what we would say is like key to a good workout, and we get a dialogue option like wheel. And you can say either training equipment, or you can say a post-workout meal, or an unwavering resolve for gains, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I ended up choosing training equipment because we were surrounded by workout equipment in a gym, so I thought that might come into play. And Jules said he completely agreed, and it actually makes me wonder like what he says with the other stuff.
I think I said the gains one, but I don't remember what he said.
Yeah, I would have picked the gains one.
Just because it's funny.
The gains one is the funniest one out of the three.
You need to have the unreasonable resolve for gains.
You got to have an unwavering resolve for gains. Yeah. Which totally fits in with like some of the NPC dialogue in there.
Yeah, they're so funny.
Jules then says,
The reason I wanted you to stop by? Monsters have been spotted skulking around the facility, and I want them gone.
Sure. Should be easy enough.
Splendid. We can't train our bodies unless our minds are at ease.
and then the goal from that point on is to basically just run around the outskirts of the gym area and fight 4 groups of monsters that are pretty much just citropine fish and those annoying crown lance jellyfish that are really hard to hit.
Because they dodge.
Yeah, they dodge everything. And this part of the quest is pretty uneventful. But there is dialogue between Tifa and Cloud while you're running around.
Wanted an excuse to work up a sweat, and now I've got one.
Wonder what little Tifa would say.
I think she'd be pretty proud.
But all of their dialogue, I feel like there are some opportunities there where they could have made it cool, but all of their dialogue pretty much has to do with like meal prep and like what foods taste good and who's a picky eater and stuff like that.
Would you say you're a picky eater?
Soldiers can't be choosers. We ate what we were fed.
Well, I used to be super picky, actually.
Really?
I didn't find it terribly enlightening, but it is nice that the developers would include character dialogue at all just to make things a little bit more interesting, especially specific to the character that you're doing this quest with, even if the dialogue is like blander than the food that they're talking about, but at least it's not like the Aerith dialogue, which was way worse.
Yeah, this one actually made sense as to what they were doing.
Yeah, like it kind of worked with the side quest, so it's fine. And then once we take care of all these monsters, then we report back to Jules, and then some gym girl appears, and we saw her on the beach, but she's here in the gym too.
Yeah, she was on stage with the other guys.
Yeah.
They're like, come get a sweet bod.
And she does have a good bod, so good for her. Good for this fictional digital character.
Right, because the other 2 people from Midgar, like the really beefy guys that you have to go up with in the pull-ups challenge or whatever, they're back along with Jules, but then there's this new NPC girl character.
Yes, and we've never seen her. I don't think she was in Remake.
She was in Remake.
But she appears, and she's basically like fawning all over Tifa.
After I heard how you crushed it, I knew I had to join the gym. You're the reason I'm here.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not your only fan. Look, all of us signed up because we wanted to be just like you.
Wow.
Which is awesome. Like, it ties it into that. Yeah.
And actually, I will say, I like that the game acknowledges Tifa's physical fitness as being something she works hard for.
Yes, I do too.
You know, that's kind of cool because I think sometimes in games or movies, like you'll have these characters who physically kick butt, but there's like no explanation and it just doesn't mean as much or it feels unrealistic. It's not that big a deal, but I like the idea of having Tifa acknowledge that she like makes a priority to work out.
Just some mental meal prep. The ideal post-workout dish.
I totally agree too, because there's these standards of beauty. This is always a problem in media. It's like women have these like unrealistic standards and they see movie stars or whatever, and it's like, this is what you need to look like. But they never talk about them like
how hard they work to get
the
there.
work they have to go through to get that. And Tifa is like the prototypical, stereotypical like hot girl
Beautiful
in video
woman.
games, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, at least they talk about how she's super into martial arts and that she's always exercising. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I felt that same way too, because, and also just from a character perspective, it also adds some assertiveness to her personality, right? Because Tifa is typically like a pretty soft-spoken person who doesn't want to step on people's toes or like inconvenience them. Like she has more unassertive characteristics, socially at least. But then all that unassertiveness goes out the window when she's in a fight and she's suddenly like driven and dominating. So having her like train hard at a gym kind of bridges that character gap a little bit. Because that's something a shy person can do, and it can also justify why you're really good at kicking butt, if that makes sense. But anyway, so Jules tells Tifa,
Thanks to you, our female membership has absolutely skyrocketed.
So you might have thought back in Remake that it was just a pull-ups contest when really you were changing the world.
The marketing was through the roof.
So that means that in the third installment, the side quests we just complained about are going to have some kind of payoff there, right?
What, the fashion model one?
Mm-hmm. And the bird.
Or Kid G.
No, they better not. They should just sweep those under the rug.
But I didn't complain about the pull-ups contest in Remake. I liked it.
That's true. Okay, I see what you're saying. Like pull-ups carried over to this. So maybe like Cloud Jr. could make an appearance in the third one. I could see that. And the fashion models could too.
I hope we see them again.
Oh, no.
Just kidding.
You would.
I'm kidding.
I'm such a genius!
So then they're talking to Tifa and they're giving her all these compliments and she's super humble about all of it.
I didn't really do anything.
Are you kidding me? You're literally my inspiration.
She doesn't like the attention as usual, which is one of the qualities I actually like about her. I think it's cool that they make her humble. And then this girl, and she does have a name. We find out her name is Amina.
Amina's been training to achieve your look, Tifa.
And this girl, Amina, challenges Tifa to a sit-ups contest.
I want to challenge you to a sit-up contest.
Right now?
To help her measure her progress, is what she says. And that begins the crunch-off competition, where similar to squats or pull-ups back in Remake, right? We have to push the right buttons in sync. And in order to get Tifa to do more sit-ups than Amina, we've got to do it really well in a designated time period, if that makes sense. Whereas in Remake, we just had to push the typical like PlayStation buttons of like X, circle, triangle, square, or whatever easy to reach buttons if you're playing Remake on a different console, you know. But here in Rebirth, you actually have to push the bumper buttons or the trigger buttons, right? The L1, L2, R1, R2, which I think is actually more challenging because
it was harder.
Yeah, well, we don't use those buttons as often. Right? And they're more awkward to access if you ask a little-handed person like me.
Yeah, not in these games. Like I was like, I use them all the time in shooters, but
not in this one.
But you know why they did it, right?
No.
Just to mix it up is what I thought.
No, because the PlayStation 5, this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive. And in the triggers, there's the haptic feedback that make it harder. So you're supposed to be like exercising and it's like giving you pushback on the triggers, which actually makes this even harder.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, that's why they did it.
And this first competition, I say first because there's more than one, right? Yep. Coming. Spoiler alert. And to your point, Spencer, so sometimes a yellow ring would appear on the button, which meant that you had to push that button repeatedly till you filled the gauge. Yes. But then even in later like challenges in this whole side quest, then there's like a green light up that makes you hold it down partially.
Yes, not all the way.
And then hit it all the way. It's so much harder, surprisingly. Yeah. So anyway, so when it comes to Amina, it took me 5 tries to beat Amina, which doesn't bode well for me when it comes to future opponents because
she's the easiest
one.
She's
the easiest. So it wasn't a piece of cake, but it wasn't impossible either. And did you remember how many tries it took you to beat her?
I think I beat her on the first try.
Oh, of course you did.
But no, but
I suck.
But then I got like this big head and I'm like, oh, this isn't hard.
And then more stuff.
Then like got to subsequent challenges and it probably took me 10 or 15 tries to get through these ones.
Yeah, so okay, let's go through this. So after we beat Amina, then she like heaps praise upon Tifa, who starts to kind of push back because she doesn't like praise. But then she like checks herself and she thanks Amina.
Nobody's born with a beautiful physique like yours. I can tell you poured gallons of blood, sweat, and tears into your training.
Honestly, Sorry. Thank you. Glad I could help.
Which again is something I like. So I like Tifa's humility, but I also like her efforts to try to be more confident socially, right? When she should be. And we saw another moment like this back in the Mithril Mine when Barret didn't want her to go down the hole in the cave. Do you remember this? And she like starts to push back and then she just says thank you.
Okay, if you're sure. Sorry to... I mean, thank you.
Even when like Tifa and Cloud suck at communicating and they're talking in the hotel room in Junon or under Junon in the hotel, and Tifa acknowledges that she was testing Cloud.
Yeah, she admits it.
Right. Rather than like shyly avoiding it.
Was this another test?
No, it wasn't. Why deny it? I guess it was, huh? I'm sorry.
So there's little moments that the developers are using to show us that Tifa is working on herself and that she's having these small moments of progress because it'll probably pay off in a much bigger way in the third installment, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We'll probably see some big growth from her. It even pays off a little bit later in this chapter, somewhat, which we'll talk about. That can be debated. But anyway, so once Tifa expresses some confidence... Oh, did either of you notice Amina's weird laugh?
No, it's...
She like... It's like the actress was having fun and she just goes like,
Really? I want to listen to it now.
It made me laugh. So that's actually where the Bodybuilders in a Bind side quest ends. But if you're so inclined, as many of us are, it's not the end of the Situps competition. So there's more opponents to be challenged. And the next opponent you can challenge is Ronnie.
Just like you could in the remake.
Yeah. Oh, is he the next one?
I don't know if Ronnie was the next one, but you could.
But
it was
he's one of them.
Ronnie, and then the next guy, and then Jules. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ronnie's the black gym rat, and he's got the tattoo that says "Man Among Men." And the competition with him is just about the same as it was with Amina. Like you have to hit the bumpers in a square order, right?
Yeah.
With an occasional yellow button that you push repeatedly.
It introduces like a little bit new, like maybe more yellow ones.
Yeah,
right?
it changes slightly with each competition. And the thing that they introduce here is those green.
The green ones, that's right.
Rings, right? The green glowing buttons or whatever. And when those appear, you have to hold the button down halfway until it like fills up the gauge. And then you proceed, which I didn't understand this at first. For like 3 tries, I kept failing, like not even coming close to doing this right.
Because you're like pulling the triggers in normally.
I had to look up on the internet what I was doing wrong. And I guess like not only do you have to hold it down halfway, but once it fills up, you have to then push the button all the way in.
Right. After you have to like click it in.
And I was just holding it in halfway and then moving on.
It's like you're taking a photo, you're focusing halfway in, and then you have to click it all the way down.
Right. And I was not doing this, which is lame because I actually do photography, so I should have known.
Now, for our younger audience, what Spencer's talking about there is a physical camera. I know that.
That's true. You're not tapping a screen.
Just saying. Yeah.
An analog button.
Analog devices.
This just made me realize, I don't know how they're recreating this on the PC version of.
Yeah. Some of it, they're going to have to add mechanics.
If you don't have a DualSense controller, if you're doing it unlike keyboards or something.
Yeah, you're not going to have that.
I don't know how you would simulate like a half press.
Yeah.
They won't be able to do a half press.
They probably made it easier.
They'll probably have to add an extra button or something.
Yeah.
Just like I think playing the piano would be easier on a keyboard rather than on a controller.
Oh, it would be, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I've said that before in a past episode. Like, if I could just plug in a MIDI keyboard, this would be so much easier.
Oh, it'd be such an easy game if you could just plug in a keyboard.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, it took me 6 tries to beat Ronnie. Right. So it took me more than it did with Amina, but not much more.
I think the green press screwed me up too, and it took me a long time.
Yeah, I just didn't understand it, right?
Yep.
And then when you beat Ronnie, you can then challenge Jay, who's the blonde gym rat, right? He's also from Remake. And this challenge is similar to Ronnie's, except that instead of following the button patterns in like a square formation, now you have an hourglass.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like it's that different, but it's actually like relatively harder. It does increase the difficulty. And they give you less leeway to mess up.
I totally agree with you. That hourglass pattern messed me up.
It was hard.
Something about like having the face buttons, you know, the square, circle, triangle, whatever. Like those were super easy to do, even when they changed up the directions, if they did hourglasses or square or whatever. But when I was trying to do it with the triggers, I would literally have to speak out loud. I'd be like, okay, left 1, right 1, you know, like, because I'm trying to do right bumper, then like left 2, right 2, because I was like, I literally was talking out loud to complete this challenge. It was so difficult.
It's hard. It's like super hard. Yeah.
My brain couldn't get through it.
Do you remember how long it took you to beat it?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, this is when I'm getting up into the 10s.
Okay, me too. It was 13 tries for me. But I persevered and I finally beat Jay, but it was 13 tries.
That's amazing.
It's only L2 and R2 that can have the partial presses, right? The rest of them are all...
Yeah. That's true.
Okay.
But then they change the direction on which you press them. Because when you go in the square, it just feels like a circle. You're like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
But then you're like, no, left bumper, right, right trigger, or left trigger, right trigger.
Your brain wants to work in symmetrical patterns, and that is an inverted second side, right? So like
it really throws you.
Well, and they just got us in the habit of trying really hard in the square.
Yeah. And then it switches it up.
So we've learned the physicality of the other way, right? So now you have to unlearn it.
You have to get new muscle memory.
But if you do beat Jay, then you can take on the final challenger, who is Jules himself. And the mechanics in challenging Jules they're basically a combination of the previous challenges, but it's way faster. Oh, and it goes invisible. I forgot to mention.
Yeah, it goes away.
Yeah, it goes away, I think, in the previous fights too, but not for very long.
It fades away after you get in the rhythm.
It fades away, and you just have to get the rhythm, like memorize the rhythm, but it speeds up. So you could, if you keep the exact same pace, then you're not going to.
Right.
Anyway, Jules is like insanely hard, and it lasts a minute and a half. They wrap it up to 90 seconds instead of 60 seconds. So it was 60 seconds for the others.
And you can only falter once or you lose.
Can't.
Oh, you can't even do that.
You can't even do it once. Not even one time.
Well, I think you can do it one time, but you have to be really, really fast. Because you know how you can speed up? I think I messed up once.
I don't think you can mess it up.
I swear. Okay, maybe not, but...
I don't think you can. Maybe you can, and I don't know, maybe. But
when you mess up, you lose so much time.
Yeah, well, we have a YouTube comment here, too.
Okay.
Let's see what he says. The Andrew John Bennett says, he was our last comment, too.
Yeah, our last one.
He said, I still haven't beaten the Tifa sit-up challenge on the hardest difficulty and never will at this point. You can't make a mistake, and I seem to not be able to do that, LOL. I agree. So, I'm a completionist.
Did you never beat it?
I never beat it.
Oh, you
never
did beat it.
Okay, so let me explain. So
okay.
I almost beat him in my 5th try, but then I fell apart with 12 seconds left.
Oh, so bad.
And then I tried on my 6th try, and then I just stopped trying.
It's demoralizing.
I was done. I was like, even though it took me 13 tries for Jay, I'm like, I don't want to go through 13 more of these or 10 more.
Right.
I wasn't feeling it. It was, I don't know. It was those green buttons that you have to hold in.
And they go invisible.
And you have to be so careful the way you do it. Yeah. And after all this was said and done, I had been playing sit-up challenges for over 40 minutes, and I was just sit-upped out. I was I assumed I'd come back and do it, but I never did in this gameplay.
Yeah.
If I ever go back, which I actually hope to try to platinum it. But
it's so hard.
It's going to be dang hard, and this would be a part of that.
You can totally do it, but
yeah.
I was close to the 20 tries.
Oh, was it?
Because I didn't give up, but I kept going. Yeah, and I got it eventually. I thought that I messed up one time, but because just like you can get in the rhythm, you can go really fast, right? If you're doing it correctly.
But the recovery time is so long.
Right,
and Jules is
so
he's flying.
Our commenter might be right. Maybe you cannot make a mistake. And maybe I was just more careful this time.
Yeah.
Because you get in the rhythm, the music starts going and you're feeling it, And the animation, if you do it quickly enough, it doesn't look stilted. Tifa will be if you're doing it wrong, you're kind of doing these staggered movements. But if you're doing it right, she's got this nice
in the
flow because you're doing it within the rhythm that you want.
But a millisecond off and it just throws her.
But my problem was I'd get too ahead of myself because I'm oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm getting to the rhythm, and then you do it too early, and then that makes you stumble.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to me when I went 12 seconds, and it was I threw the game.
I'm curious if any of our viewers are gym rats and did this thing and what they thought about the outcome of it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, real sit-ups are easier than this.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't do as many as Tifa does here or Jules, but dang, yeah.
I don't even know what the reward is, but I completed it.
You probably got something for Johnny's treasure trove, is my guess.
Probably that, or I got a special item.
Oh, I think you get a champion belt.
That's it. Okay, I do have the champion belt.
Yeah, I think that's what you
I
get.
have
Maybe
that.
that is on display, or maybe it's an accessory. Is it an accessory or?
It's an accessory, and it's really good because it gives you like
Gotcha.
10% like HP and like 5% strength or something.
Yeah, I did not get that thing.
I do have it.
I did look online though, and there were all kinds of suggestions on how to beat Jules that I didn't try. Like they said, turn down the music and the speech all the way down, just turn it off. And they said increase the trigger pressure so that it's harder to accidentally push the button all the way in, which I think would have helped.
Yeah.
And then they said to say the button names out loud.
I did that.
When you're pushing them, which I think I was doing, and I still didn't,
literally talking out loud.
They even said to take a blanket and cover the left half of the screen so you can null out the distraction of watching Jules do it. So I didn't try any of these suggestions, but people are doing this stuff because it was hard for lots of people.
They're hardcore. Yeah.
Do you remember my hands were tired?
Hurting,
the tendons, that whatever you're pulling, I'm I can't do this anymore.
That was part of why I stopped.
I'm getting carpal tunnel.
Right.
We joke about it, but I got pretty close to having that. And now I'm just look, if this thing looks like it's going to give me hand cramps, I'm just going to move on to something else.
Move on.
It really did.
It's a health issue at this point.
And that, my friends, is pretty much everything you can really do in the Corel region, which means we're ready to move on to the next location, which is Gongaga. But don't hate me. We're going to have to save Gongaga for our next episode. I know that's super lame because we pretty much just talked about side quests in this one. And Ernest didn't do any of those. I'm so sorry, Ernest.
Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Along for the ride.
I'm better off for not having done these side quests, apparently. So
that's fair.
I'm good. I'm happy.
We do promise to continue with the deepest dive on Gongaga in future discussions. We're not going to leave anything out. But it's funny, though, because I was splitting this episode up because I thought it would be 2 hours. Now I realize I need to split future episodes up even more because this is still 5 hours long.
It's hard because these chapters are...
They're just jam-packed.
This one's huge.
25 hours, remember? It was 25 hours for me, Chapter 9.
Chapter 11 is much shorter.
Yeah.
This one is a uniquely long chapter with all the intel.
16% of my gameplay was spent in this chapter. That's a long time. But
it also felt like it was the tipping point, right, in the game. So at least for me.
It felt like this is when it opened up.
Yeah.
For sure. But we'll have to resume in our next episode. So that's going to do it for this one of the Final Fantasy Files. We can be found anywhere you get your podcasts. You can see the video version. Maybe you're watching it right now on YouTube or Spotify. And we also encourage you to follow us on our dedicated YouTube channel, Final Fantasy Files, which is kind of our home, actually. And you can also lend your support by leaving a like and a comment. And a very special thanks to those of you from our YouTube community who shared opinions for this episode. I think it was only 2 people for this episode. There's a lot more for later stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people want to talk about the actual story content we get to in Gongaga.
Right, so not a whole lot for this one, but it's interesting to me. So I think we'll keep it going. It really makes us feel like we're on this journey together with you, right?
Yeah, it's been really fun. Thanks for your comments, guys.
Let us know what you thought about these side quests in the comments below. But more importantly, share this with other people who you think might like this kind of content. We are everywhere you are now. So YouTube, Spotify, most recently we're on Audible.
Are we really? Wow.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're all over the place, including all the socials. So Blue Sky, Twitter, X, whatever it's called nowadays. Instagram, Threads.
Insta-Threads, Facetube.
And also, we have a small but growing group now on Reddit, on our subreddit there too. So if you
Are people talking on Reddit?
A couple of comments here and there, nothing major. But if you happen to be a prolific Redditor, I know I am, we have a subreddit and we post all the episodes there and engage with us there as well.
We tend to be the most active on YouTube, so if you want to talk to us, but if those other communities like Reddit tend to pick up, then you'll start to see us there more too, because we are growing and we just love interacting with this community. It's a cool community, it really is. And with that, walk tall, my friends. Oh, and I want to kind of change it to one cannot lead by standing still, but I think that sounds dumb at the end of an episode. I'm trying to find an Ignis quote that's not I've discovered a new recipe.
Yeah. And may the flames of the Phoenix consume all the bad memories you have of the side quests in this game.
Very good.
You got anything, Spencer? You hear the planet crying out.
I'm afraid everything I pick is either like mocking awesome Barret, or then I would unknowingly like attach myself to the shipping community last time. So other than that, just I don't know. I'm a new Final Fantasy person. I don't have the nostalgia like the rest of you guys. So I'm just along for the ride, and I'm having a good time. So thanks for having me.
Yay, the end.